All right, we get rolling on the Krueger Show after Giants baseball on this Saturday. Wild one in Pittsburgh. Back and forth all afternoon. Giants get the win. Brandon Crawford with the RBI double late. Doval shut it down. Alex Wood with the start. Luis Gonzalez looking great. 7-5 Giants over the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Will look to be a perfect day for baseball at PNC Park there in Pittsburgh. Larry Krueger joined by Ryan Smith, Dan Coccimilgio, and lots of you in the chat as we get it rolling here on the Krueger Show. Guys, what'd you think? Interesting day for the Giants. There were a lot of heroes today, a lot of different heroes.
Don't slight Brandon Crawford.
What's that?
Don't slight Brandon Crawford.
I already mentioned him.
Yeah, I said. I know, not you. I'm talking to the Pirates.
You mean manager. Pitching around Belt to go to Crawford?
Yeah, I knew that was going to backfire. I just Crawford just had that look in his eyes like, dude, I'm a champion. I may be struggling, but I'm going to smash this next pitch that comes in. And he did. And I just think, you don't want to spark old veterans. That's like, you're dealing with a heart of a champion, a guy who's got good matchup, guys not hitting the strike zone. Crawford's just waiting for one in his zone, drills it down the right field line. And what about this? One thing I'm a little bit, it's kind of frustrating, and I know we're nursing guys back to health and we don't want to risk injury, but man, this club, 2 runs that could have easily scored today. Longoria on the double to the gap by Gonzalez, and then the Crawford double down the right field line. Belt with 2 out. You're running on the crack of the bat. That's generally an easy score. That's 2 runs they kind of left on the bases today, and I just think the Giants are going to need some speed, some team speed, and more flexibility on the bench going forward. You're kind of mixing and matching guys that are 34, 35, bad wheels.
How about Gonzalez, though, on the base paths? I love that,
man. Is
what a
just
ball player, man.
I love that guy, and I'll tell you what,
Gonzalez might be the best player on the team.
I know. Yeah. What the heck?
I mean, if I said to you who's the best player on the Giants, who would you say?
Overall, probably Gonzalez, at least this year.
How could it not be? How could it not be Gonzalez? I mean, I wrote it down. I mean, okay, so you got Belt, you got Jock Peterson, you got Yaz, you got Rodon, you got Brandon Crawford, and then you got Luis Gonzalez. And Luis Gonzalez might be the best player on the team right now.
Well, he's hitting with runners in scoring position. He had a couple of Ks today, but that's going to happen. But he's hitting
also
over
a couple stolen bases. I mean, he's looking great. I mean,
hitting over 400 runners.
Made a nice catch in the outfield.
Got an amazing arm. He can play all 3 outfield positions. He can pitch. No, it's like,
and he's hitting 45 points higher than anybody else on the team. I mean, look at it. Gonzalez is hitting 306. Look at the rest of those averages: 263, 241, 223, 237, 243, 267, 241, 221. I mean, this guy's hitting 306 with almost a 370 on base percentage. 2 hits today, 2 strikeouts, but man, Luis Gonzalez, I mean, amazing. And not only that, the Giants today claimed another former White Sox off waivers who was DFA'd, Yermin Mercedes, who was the AL Rookie of the Month as recently as last April. He's been in the minors all of this year so far. There's not room on the Giant roster right now, but this guy can play first base. He can DH. He can hit, especially if you're looking for a right-handed bat against left-handed pitching. Yermin Mercedes might be a nice pickup. They picked him up today. What do you guys think of that one?
I like the move, and he also could be a third emergency catcher. The guy came up as a catcher. He's caught recently in the last couple of years. If you look him up on Baseball Reference, a lot of places are listing him still as a catcher. I just think that this was a move that I don't know necessarily Mercedes, but I kind of figured, we talked about it, Papirski was a guy that was a stopgap in that trade for Dubon to give a left-handed bat a little bit. But we knew, and Larry, you made a great point on this about Papierski. Had the Giants traded for someone of much more value, let's say a really
Wilson Contreras
mid-level, let's say a mid-level catcher who's could be wanted by other teams, they would not, Papierski's just the guy that if you release him, if you release Papierski, you got to put him on your 40-man roster if somebody picks him up. That means they got to release someone else on their roster. Yep. So are you going to release, if the Giants release Papierski, is anybody going to pick him up? Highly doubtful.
Maybe the Mariners. Not sure, though.
I doubt it, because remember, it's not like they just pick him up and claim him and say, stash him away. They got to get rid of somebody else on their 40.
No, for sure.
So what you're saying is if we pick up Papierski, we believe he's better than what we have on our 40-man roster. And I just think he'll clear waivers. He'll be on AAA. He'll be a non-roster player. And now you have him in the organization as backup depth at catcher. And
well, normally you handle your roster. You're trying to go for the best players available, but maybe with catcher, because of the continuity of your pitching staff, maybe it's more valuable to have a guy that won't clear waivers, so that you can at least maintain having him on your roster throughout the year, up and down, the ability to kind of a way to circumvent the rules to some degree, right? Because you got a guy that you're going to have to clear through waivers, but he will clear through waivers. And if not, so be it, but most likely he will. And then you have that continuity with your pitching staff going forward. I don't know, but it's what Casale did today was heroic. I mean, my goodness, he's back there. There's no backup catcher. He's taking shots. He's in a lot of pain. I mean,
that's another move, Larry. I just didn't like Austin Wynns being the DH today at all, because I thought if something happens to Casale, who's already hurting, and you pull Austin Wynns out of the game, which they did because of matchups, then you're down to one catcher. And if Casale has to come out, which
who's the emergency catcher? Luis
Tyro Estrada today. Today it was Tyro Estrada.
I just don't like DHing a guy like Austin Wynns when you got Jock Peterson, Brandon Belt, and Yaz on the bench. So you're facing Quintana. He's not some superstar
Colfax.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on.
Arguably,
you're watching the Pirates. They're batting that left fielder against lefties last night against Rodon. These platoons. Jock Peterson has 14 home runs. He's taking a lot of good pitches and walking more often now. You're talking one or two at bats at the most against Quintana. Quintana is not
Gabe may have overthought himself on that one.
Just to get a right-handed guy in, leave that guy on the bench for an emergency.
I agree.
And then he comes up and he hit two
forever
swibblers.
Playing lefty-righty games.
Yeah,
for sure. It's lefty-righty to the death,
Yeah.
It looked like he was.
Can you talk about Belt? Because you just brought him up. And since he's come back, he's played in 4 games. I mean, he had 1 plate appearance in one of them. So they're 3-1 in those games. And he had 10 plate appearances over the course of those games. He was on base 7 times. The guy's been great. 7 times plus a home run. That's 4 walks and then 3 for 6 with a home run. He's been great again. I mean,
he's terrific. He's at a point in his career right now where you're either going to have to throw it in the zone and he's going to crush it, or he's going to draw walks. He drew 2 more today. He scored a run. I mean, he's hitting 241, but he's got a 371 on base, and he's easily the toughest at bat on the team. He always grinds you. But I'll tell you this one. I mean, the Giants, they left. I mean, it was 7-5, but the Giants could have won this game by more. I mean, they left 12 on base. They have 12 on base in this game.
God, I thought I thought that was going for extra bases. He put a pretty good swing on that. Just went right to the right fielder.
Oh, I think you were talking about the Yaz catch. Yeah, how about Yaz with the running catch with the sun in his eyes in the 8th inning with the bags loaded to end that threat? That was that could have been the ball game right there.
Yeah, easily. Underrated defensive player. We keep talking about it's would be really nice to have Duggar on center field. I mean, I feel like Yaz was just like might not.
Yaz
he's not
and
as good,
Slater
but he's
can
clutch
cover
as
it.
hell, man.
You speaking of Duggar there. Something's coming in the next week. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got a roster crunch coming here. There's no question.
Wade is on rehab assignment now. Duggar's
They're saying Wade will play tonight. By the way, he's in his rehab assignment in Sacramento. I just saw that note. Where is it? Yeah, Lamont Wade. He's scheduled to DH tonight for Sacramento for the first time in his rehab assignment. So
give him a week in Sacramento. Give him 15, 20 at-bats, about all you need. Probably 20 at-bats. And he'll be ready to come up. And then you got Duggar, who's eligible to come off the 60 as of next week, the 21st. So now you got 2 outfielders. And I'll tell you what, if they send Gonzalez down.
No, they're not sending Gonzalez down.
I don't believe they will, but if they do, then I am going to blow a gasket because
they're not. They're not
now
going
you're looking to save guys instead of play the best guys because Gonzalez, as we talked about right now, is their best player.
But it is a numbers crunch, and who goes?
Well, it's going to have to be. They don't have depth in the end. It's not going to be an infielder.
DL Ruff?
No, I don't see that happening. Oh, DFA you mean or IL?
No, I'm saying put him on the injured list. He's hitting 221.
What injury does he have?
I don't know. Make one up. Okay. I mean, you're not getting rid of. Okay, Slater gives you a really good glove. Yaz, you're not getting rid of him.
Nope.
Peterson, you're not getting rid of him. He's your power threat. You're not getting rid of Luis Gonzalez. So who's got
the best trade value of those lefties? They're not going to get rid of Jock. They're not going to trade Jock. They're not going to trade Yaz. But who's got the best? Somebody's going to have to go unless somebody does go down, and let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, let's hope it does happen because otherwise,
I don't want an injury. I don't want one of those guys injured.
Well, I mean, nothing serious, of course, but you need a roster spot. So the roster spot has got to come from somewhere.
You need 2. You got Wade and Duggar, who's eligible, that are both on the 40, and both.
Duggar's your best defensive center fielder.
And I think they're out of options, aren't they? Or does Duggar have options? How do we find that out?
I don't know.
That's a good question. I'm not really sure who's got the options. Not to mention, did you see Lorenzo Cain got DFA'd today?
Yeah, it's good that good classy move on the Brewers, letting him get to 10 years of service today. But
is this guy done? I mean, here's the thing about it too. It's like, it's easy to say, well, look at his numbers. He's done. You could have said the same thing about Pat Burrell before the Giants picked him up in 2010. All he did was come from Tampa where he was hitting like 198 or 202 or something like that and lead the Giants in home runs and help vault them into the postseason. And ultimately they won the World Series that year. So
here's where I would say the Giants should go. I would rather have them get a right-handed guy that can play the infield, that can play some short, give Crawford some days off, can play second or third, but has some pop and speed. And I don't know who that is because I don't think we need another right-handed outfielder. I think that Estrada can handle a platoon at times in left field or play a game or two in left field. You got Ramos, who's starting to hit. He's raised his average quite a bit. He's hitting 333 over the last couple of weeks down at Sacramento, and he's starting to come around. And he's the guy that I was thinking today, man, we don't have any speed, even if we need a pinch runner. I mean,
Gonzalez is the best we got.
Yeah, Gonzalez is the best you got. But I mean, you need somebody off the bench that could come in. and run. They got Jock that's on the bench sometimes, or Ruff, or Belt, or just total lack of team speed. And as they move forward, and now, hey, let's point out they're 10 games over 500 for the first time this season.
Yeah, they're only 3 games behind the Padres in the West.
Very quietly.
Yeah,
Braves
are hanging around.
And we've been saying on this show for quite a while that Belt, when they get Belt back and Wade back, they'll really take off. They started this little run just before Belt came up, and with the sweep of the Dodgers. Then Belt came back against the Royals, but it's going to continue. When Wade comes back, I'm telling you, Lamont Wade against right-handed pitching, oh, man.
Also, Webb and Rodon have to be the guys that we all believe they are, that they've shown their past couple outings. They need to be those guys for us to continue to compete. I mean, seriously, it's so tantalizing when you see them have these games, and just if they can be, off game every once in a while, but if they can just be those 2 horses at the top of the rotation, that's
and don't forget Jacob Junis. He'll be back right around the All-Star break, so it's not like he's out.
I've still have high hopes for DeSclafani. I mean, he's awesome last year, man.
I think he'll probably let me look what he did Thursday. He pitched Thursday. Does anybody have
but you were asking before about who's got the trade value among the lefties. It's hard to say. I mean, they're not going to. And then it's like, let's take Lamont Wade for a second. I mean, what do you guys think of Lamont Wade as a player? I mean, Lamont Wade is 28. Let's take a look at his splits. This year against lefties, he's only got 3 at bats, but he's hitting 0 against lefties, and he hit 273. Let's take a look at last year's splits. Last year, Lamont Wade hit 135 against lefties and 268 against righties. So he's strictly a platoon guy. You can't play him every day.
No, he's a platoon guy, but he can play first, and he can play really all 3 outfield positions. His best is on the corners, but if you need him, he can play center.
That's the thing. Do you want Duggar's D, or do you want? I mean, you got Lamont Wade's O.
There's no room for Duggar if those other guys are healthy. There just isn't. I mean, I like Duggar
Duggar's your best defensive center fielder, and you struggled defensively this year.
They're picking it up, though. They're starting to play better to the outfield. I mean, I like Slater a lot in the outfield.
Slater, Yaz, Luis Gonzalez. I trust all those guys.
I do too. Those guys.
I trust Yaz in center.
Slater, I think, has improved dramatically in center. He's a legit center fielder now. I still think Duggar's the best center fielder they got. I don't know. I mean, that one's a tough one because I would hate to lose Duggar for nothing, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, how many platoon outfielders can a team have? And that's the bottom line. It's a 25-man roster, 26-man roster. It's not a 35-man roster. So you can't have like an entire roster of right-handed hitting outfielders and an entire roster of left-handed hitting outfielders. You're gonna have to pick and choose. You're gonna have to pick and choose. This is why it's a struggle when you have an entire outfield of platooners, because then you have to have like more outfielders. You have to dedicate more roster spots to outfielders just so you can have a complete outfield. Otherwise, you're going to have some guys you're going to be giving away at bats, 2-3 times a week. So I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one going forward. I don't know how they're going to juggle that. And then pitching wise, if they're looking for another arm, Yasmiro Petit is still a free agent. God knows he seems like he's a guy that can pitch in almost any role. I'd be interested in adding him if I could, but I definitely they got a nice performance to. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's got left. But I do know that he's never been overwhelming. His game is not about the velocity or the radar gun in any way.
But I just don't see a spot for him in this bullpen. Who are you going to remove?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, Dom Leone struggled today. I mean, everybody.
They've overused him in the last 10 games. This is his 6th game in 10 games. They should have given him a rest. He couldn't even reach the plate today.
But this is a team, Danny, that uses 6 relievers a day. So it's like you can almost never have enough relief depth. I mean, literally, Wood pitched well today, and still here's the parade: Brebbia, Rogers, Leone, McGee, and Doval. And that's to just beat the Pirates by a couple runs when your starter pitched into the 6th.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Doval,
So, I mean,
wow. Give it up for Doval. He's been looking like lights out the last week or two.
And McGee's, I mean, I think that to me was one of the better revelations of the day when they talked about how McGee, just tinkering with his landing spot, has got his velo from 92, 93 up to 97, 98. He was touching the gun at 98 today.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That first pitch was 97, and it would just look like
was a great sign. That is a great sign.
Yeah.
That umpire today, man. That umpire was a strike zone was all over the place. It was like one inning he's calling the ball like 6 inches down below the strike zone and 3 inches off, and then the next time he's like balls are hitting the imaginary box line and he's calling them balls, and he was just like, if I was a batter, I wouldn't know what the heck to expect today.
By the way, the Pirates are just they're such a 4A team, right? I mean, there were 5 pitchers that pitched for the Pirates today. 4 of them are former Giants. Hembry, Banda, Stratton, and Quintana all pitched for the Giants. But they're a true minor league team. I mean, they really are. I mean, who's major league on that team? Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, I guess Vogelbach, who hit one to the moon. He's a major leaguer. Everybody else. He's a huge dude, but everybody else on their team is basically a minor leaguer. It's funny. I look at the Pirates and I was thinking to myself, how great would it be to trade like a Joey Bart and some other prospects to them and get Brian Hayes. I mean, how great! I mean, Charlie Hayes' kid plays the hell out of third base. He's had a couple hits. I mean, they're not trading him. I can't imagine they would, but who knows? I mean, I would think they wouldn't trade Reynolds either, but there's all kinds of trade rumors around Reynolds. But I mean, that's the kind of guy that I would like to see the Giants, if they're ever going to trade Joey Bart. Trade Joey Bart, that's fine, but don't trade him for some middle reliever. Trade him for, in addition to other prospects, for a legit, everyday guy like a Brian Hayes, who's on,
they just signed him though, didn't they? To a long-term
they signed
contract?
him, but I mean, they, this is a Pirate team that it seems like it doesn't matter whether they sign guys or not. It's like they're willing to move guys all the time, and it's like every time they get a couple major leaguers, they make a trade. But yeah, I can't imagine they would trade Brian Hayes at this point, but that's the kind of guy that I would love to see the Giants add, because he's an everyday third baseman, and then you can get out from underneath Longoria. And Longoria is done. My goodness. I mean, he had 3 walks today, but he can't move. He's hitting 209. I mean, it's just, what a horrendous trade that was by Bobby Evans to bring him here and take on all that money. I mean, that was
for one more year after this.
I mean, it's just an awful, awful Bobby Evans move right there. That has handcuffed this team for years. Years.
Can I read you guys some, because I was looking for articles from like decently reputable sites that have like kind of all the trade rumor candidates.
Sure.
Run through them because it's fun. Hey, I'm going to start off with this one because I haven't seen this one before, and this one, it's exciting for us, is that Bumgarner could be on the move. I don't know. I don't think the Giants would take him, but
I don't think they would because of the remaining years and
too many years.
The other day I saw his line. It was like he'd only given up 2 runs, but it was 5 innings, 9 hits. He's given up a lot of hits, almost two hits an inning. He's getting by on just pure guile right now, just trying to
I mean, it would definitely help the crowds. I mean, they're not selling tickets. There's no question it would help sell tickets. I would love to go see Mad Bum.
Think he would restructure with us?
No, I don't. Baseball players typically don't restructure, but
you got Arizona to pay for part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking. Let's look at his deal real quick. I just wanted to check his contract. Bumgarner
It's like
signed a
18
5-year, $85 million
It's
deal.
like 17.5 million.
So
a year.
he's signed through 2024. The first year was $6 million. 2021, $19 million. This year he makes $23 million, and he's got next year at $23 million, and then 2014, $14 million.
14's not horrible.
14's not horrible, and so you've basically, if you picked him up now, you'd be picking up 37, almost $40 million of money. If they were willing to pay some of that, I'd take him back. He should be here. He should be here. This is where he should be.
It's kind of gross that he's like. It's really is sad and like kind of gross that what the heck he was. I mean, he was incredible from off the bat, man, and he should be in his prime, his pitching prime. When you look around the league at all these aces, he's like, what, 32? I mean, this deal doesn't end.
Motorcycle injury may have done more to him than we know. You know,
I mean, he never threw hard, really. I mean, really hard. He's always kind of gotten by with more deception and that unique arm slot that he has. But you know, it's not a natural for sure. It doesn't seem like the kind of move that Farhan would ever make. He seems like he's running from the Bumgarners of the world, right? The guys who, you know, are established and maybe have big egos and big contracts and some injuries. And it's like he's going the other way. He's going the other way. But that's an interesting name to me.
If we had no future and like, you know, we were like 20 games under 500 and he was not Farhan, he was just a typical GM that got really worried about his job and wanted to bring in the crowds. That's when I see like them bringing back Bumgarner. But yeah, I'll go through the rest of the.
Yeah, who else is on that list?
Okay, so we got Daniel Bard on the Rockies.
Great stuff.
What list you reading?
This is from
MLB Trade.
It's from okay, it's on yardbarker.com,
okay.
But it's through like Bleacher Report, I believe.
Okay.
And then, okay, the next one's Josh Bell, which we all know. And
like that one.
Josh Bell would make a lot of sense. I mean, but they just added Yermin Mercedes, so that kind of goes against that.
And then we got Andrew Benintendi. I mean, he was a gold glove
there's
guy.
no question. See, now he's an everyday outfielder.
Gold glove guy.
But I mean, you
another
many
lefty. No, we add a fifth left-handed outfielder.
Yeah. Okay, and then Cole Calhoun. I actually don't know much about him. Outfielder for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Power hitter.
Used to be with the D-backs, I think.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo, Reds.
Well, I mean, he's a big-time starting pitcher.
Yeah, I would like that. I would.
The Giants are ranked, 18th in ERA according to Romo 2001 here. So, I mean,
would take Luis Castillo.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, he doesn't make a lot of money, right?
Ex-Giant farmhand.
Could be expensive for the Reds in his final year of arbitration next season. I'm not sure his contract, but I don't think it's that much. Then Andrew Chafin for the Tigers, relief pitcher.
Yeah, not bad.
And then, of course, Wilson Contreras, who I've seen rumored to the Giants.
That's going to cost a lot. That's going to cost a lot. Whoever gets Contreras.
Yeah, Contreras, you're going to pay through the nose because of the position and the supply and demand.
Yep. And then Nelson Cruz, I mean, what is that guy? 45 years old.
He's not having a good year either, isn't he?
No, he can only play DH. That's it. There's no spot on. You're not going to waste a roster spot on him.
Okay, and then Adam Frazier, Mariners.
Gosh, he was good. He was good with the Pirates a couple years ago. Got traded to the Padres
almost a
last
batting
year.
champion, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's good little left-handed hitters. Is switch hitter or left? I know he bats from the left. I just can't remember if he bats from the right. I think he just bats from the left. But
I just left.
Can play second. Can play a little bit of outfield. Wouldn't be bad if you don't have to give up much.
Yeah.
Where is he now? Where is he?
He is on the Mariners.
What's he making?
I can tell you that. I get the contract thing up right here. I'll tell you.
He's probably making about 12.
Frazier for the Mariners. Let's see what he's pulling in here.
Guessing 12.
It's probably pretty good. Okay, he's making. No, he's not making a lot of money. He's on a 1-year, $8 million deal.
Oh,
he's a free agent at the end of the year, though.
You wouldn't have to give up a lot for him then.
No, I mean he's only hitting 230. So
I mean he hit 300 with.
Is there an injury there? I wonder. They also have other guys. They have Mitch Haniger, who's also done at the end of the year. He makes $7.75 million. He's a free agent. If you could get Haniger.
Now that's a guy that would be good. A right-handed bat that can play in the outfield and has some pop. That would be a good possibility there, because to me the Giants are one right-handed bat away from completing the team. Someone who
Rebel 444 says Robbie Grossman. Robbie Grossman is one of those names that you say that name and you're like, who, what? That guy, he's nothing. But then you watch his ABs and he's a grinder. He's a grinder. He works counts. He knows the strike zone. He's a line drive hitter. Isn't Grossman a right-handed bat for the Tigers?
Yeah, I'm not sure where he's at, what he's doing. I was looking at Mercedes minor league stats because he's only had 1 year really. 20. Hitter. Okay.
Yeah, he's a switch hitter. Grossman's a switch hitter, but he's hitting pretty well, right? Let's see. He's for the year.
Not great this year, but he's
205 this year. 205 this year. That's not good.
Okay,
but last year and the year before, I thought he hit pretty good.
Okay, so I'm just going to rip through these because I didn't realize there's actually 30. So I'm going to say names and then let me know if you want to stop on that person because it's interesting. Right. Okay, the next one is Zach Greinke. Mitch Haniger, right?
Haniger makes sense. Yeah. I think Haniger makes some sense. He would help.
And he's currently dealing with an ankle injury. So, Cesar Hernandez, second baseman, Nationals.
Is he a switch hitter?
Former, Philly? Is that Cesar Hernandez?
Philly, yeah. I thought he was a switch hitter.
Okay, this next one's interesting. I don't know if they do a deal with us, but Jose Iglesias.
Oh, with the Angels?
Jose Iglesias.
Shortstop
for the Rockies now. He replaced
that's right. He was with the Angels.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He's been in Boston. I mean, he Jose Iglesias is a really flashy defensive player. I mean, he might be one of the flashiest defensive players in the entire sport.
Nicely with Crawford at short.
The only thing is, it's like, Iglesias is hitting 226. Another guy not hitting this year.
He's hitting.
He's hitting 301. He's hitting 301. He's hitting 226 at home, though.
Oh, that's
a little bit of a surprise.
That's really strange, yeah.
But he hit 356 for Boston last year, and that was only 23 games.
I love Jose Iglesias. I mean, the only thing is what are you gonna do with Crawford? I mean, Crawford plays every day at shortstop, and he doesn't have another position.
Isn't Iglesias is he a left-handed batter, Iglesias?
He's a right-handed batter.
Right-handed, okay.
Yeah.
I think Crawford personally could use a little more rest. I think he should get at least a day off every week.
Oh my God, his contract is 1 year, $5 million.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I mean, Iglesias is. I mean, if Crawford went down, Iglesias would be definitely on the short list of guys you'd try to acquire.
Do you think he could play third base for us?
I mean, if Iglesias was willing to play off the bench, at least the Giants would then have a for sure second shortstop, so they could sit Crawford twice a week, and maybe a guy having a guy like that, an established shortstop, might not be the worst thing from the standpoint of it might put a little pressure on Crawford to get it going. Crawford's had a disappointing year this year offensively.
He has, and I just think. He, as you said, we were talking about age the other night with Curry. Crawford's now 34, 35.
Yeah.
He's getting, they gave him 2 years based on what he did last year. And I'm okay with the 2 years because it's Brandon Crawford. He's
earned it.
He's earned it.
Is it 2 after this year or 2?
No, one.
It's
one
more
more
after this year.
Yeah, it was a 2-year deal when he signed extension because he was a free agent, going to be a free agent. Gave him 2 years, $32 million. But I think Crawford is more of an 80% player, meaning play 80% of the time. He should rest 20%.
Well, he could be much better potentially offensively.
Yeah, I think if you platooned him a little bit, let him hit against certain lefties, but some lefties, give him a break. You kind of want to – and I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants do something on the infield to create – some more rest days for Crawford, just because he needs that rest to keep him fresh. And, it's a long season. Last year he played.
I mean, he's going to have to buy into that, though. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues.
Well, if you remember,
look at the Giants on the infield. They've got Belt, Estrada, Crawford, and Longoria. So the left side, I mean, really the entire infield's got a lot of age. And then you've got Flores, who can play the corners and play a little bit of second. He plays everywhere but short. Listella's more of a second baseman. You know, they don't have a lot of youth, and they don't have a lot of range in that infield. So I don't know. That's an interesting one. And they've got in Crawford. You know, what is Crawford at this point? Crawford is 35, and he's hitting 223. He does have 5 home runs, but I mean, we all know what he means to the team as far as you know, he's the heart of the team. You can take him off the field. I think if you take him off the field, you're going to have some clubhouse issues. I don't know. That one's complicated. That one's a little bit more complicated, but it makes sense that as he gets to 35, 36, that you're covered at short with another major league caliber shortstop. So, you know, it's interesting, but there's going to have to be some dialogue there before that's going to be comfortable.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to rip through the rest of these. Ian Kennedy. Oh, my God. Mark Melancon.
No, Mark Melancon.
Whit Merrifield, outfielder for the Royals.
Yeah, I like Whit because he can play second base, and he's a right-handed guy. He can play outfield. I think
he's regressed significantly.
How old is Whit Merrifield? About 33 now?
Because I would say Whit Merrifield has been in the rumor mill for a long time. I mean, this
guy would have been great to have 2-3 years ago, but I still think he's
now 33. He's hitting 232.
Yeah, but I think
he can play second. He can play third, right?
Yeah, but if you bring a guy like him in, you bring a guy like him into the Giants and put him in a pennant contender, and I think it changes the dynamics for him. I think he gets a fresh new start. He's been with the Royals his entire his entire career. And, you know, he's in a completely rebuild for the last several years and is going nowhere. Sometimes a guy like that goes to a team that's in a pennant race and he becomes like re-energized. And I think that could happen with a Whit Merrifield because
let's see what he makes. He's in a 4-year, $16 million deal that there are options for 23 and 24. So this year his money is very reasonable. He makes $2.75 million this year. He's due to make 6.5 next year. He's a $6.5 million option for next year with a $750,000 buyout.
Can he play third base? Is he a good third? Would he be a good third baseman?
Yeah, he can play everywhere. That's the advantage of Whit Merrifield is he can play everywhere, literally everywhere. He's catcher.
He's a little bit like a Chris Bryant. Then
second base, third base, right field. I think that's where you're looking at.
Let me ask you this: to get rid of a Longoria, you would have to throw in a valuable minor leaguer for someone to take the contract. Would you do that to say Kansas City, kind of like the Giants did? Taking on Zach Cozart and getting Will Wilson, a 15th pick in the entire draft. They got Will Wilson. Would you throw in
to date? That's been a waste of cash, by the way.
Well, Wilson has
never done anything in the majors and just was hitting 238 in Double-A.
Giants are high on him though. He's up to Triple-A now.
I mean, they can be as high as they want on him, but it's still he hit 238 at Double-A.
Yeah,
they paid a ton of cash off that contract, to
$12 million
to get him. Yeah, I mean, would you trade would the Giants owners today trade $12 million to have a Will Wilson hitting 238 at Double-A? Probably not.
Very Kelly Oubre-esque. You know what?
Let me ask you this: Would you trade?
We'll see where he goes from here.
Would you trade a prospect, and if you could get Longoria, because to get Merrifield, that's another roster spot that you have to get rid of somebody on the 26 because you're bringing him on.
I would say this: it's like I wouldn't trade for anybody right now unless they're rolling. So I'm not trading for these has-beens who are playing like crap.
Okay,
Give me guys who are rolling or younger guys.
I've got one for you.
Okay.
It's very prescient because somebody said, why didn't the Giants go after Freeman when they had the chance? Well, he's not Freeman, but Trey Mancini for the Orioles. He's a 30 home run guy.
It's a lot of strikeouts.
I mean, Trey Mancini is a big time player, but
he's hitting 290 with 6 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Mancini is that would cost you. That would cost you. I mean, he's got power. He's got power for sure. He doesn't have a lot of positional versatility, though, right? He's basically a DH, first base, left field type guy.
Fair, yeah. Okay, move on then. Wade Miley, Mike Minor, Frankie Montas, of course.
Yeah, Frankie Montas for sure. I'll tell you the one that's the most intriguing if you're talking about trades, and I saw it the other day. I saw an article that the Marlins are hot on the trot of Ramon Laureano. And if that means that the A's have quietly behind the scenes let it be known that Laureano's available, that's the guy that I would go get.
Oh, you know what?
That's the guy that I would go get.
My best friend, his dad is the head video guy for the A's. He's actually also for the Warriors, but he said this is the worst, most depressing A's season he's seen, and he's been doing this for like 30 years.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I mean, a guy like Laureano, I don't know if you guys caught that scene in the dugout the other day. I mean, they had lost 10 in a row, and he is losing his ass in the dugout, and he's screaming and yelling and pumping his fist. And, you know, you're talking about a guy who's not old, 27 years of age, you know, so you acquire a guy like Laureano, you're going to have a guy for a while. Danny's talking about all these left-handed hitting outfielders. Ramon Laureano hits right-handed.
Yep.
You know, and he's got a hose. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would rather trade some legit prospects for like a Laureano, Sean Murphy, Frankie Montas package. You want Jelly, you want Bart, you want Ramos, take them all. Take them all. I mean, seriously, take them all. Throw Laureano over here. Throw Montas over here. Get Sean Murphy behind the dish. Imagine how much better the Giants would be if they added those three guys. And then you would have Casali and Murphy behind the plate, and you don't have to pour wins if you want to, have three catchers. You got Laureano now playing center field with Yaz. Now you've got a right-handed guy who can play every day out there. You add a horse like Frankie Montas to your rotation, a 200-inning guy who throws high 90s and could plug in behind Logan Webb in game 2 of a series or behind Rodon in game 3.
Now we're talking.
And now you're talking about Rodon and Montas and Logan Webb. I mean, you go into October and you're the Giants and you've got all this World Series experience and you've got a rotation that's got Rodon and Webb and Montas. You could beat anybody. You could legitimately beat anybody and you could win the World Series. So I don't think the A's would do it, but I would give them several young players with upside to make that deal a reality. I think the Giants and A's, if you really look at it, guys, they really match up well right now. The A's are looking for young players and salary relief and looking towards Vegas in 2023 and 2024. The Giants are trying to get to October, capitalize on that extra playoff team, and once they get there, make noise in the playoffs. And those two teams, Giants can get those three players coming back, I think the Giants are right there with every team in the National League. I really do.
For sure. And let's answer Romo's question, because I think this builds off it nicely. Is like, if you could get one thing at the deadline, would it be, a big time starting pitcher or a big time bat? And honestly, as much as we kind of, we're bummed out by all of the platooning and whatnot. It'd be nice to have a big power hitter that was consistent everyday guy, but I want another starting pitcher, man.
You can never have enough
starting pitcher.
I don't know that you. I think it's a great answer, Ryan, but I don't think they're going anywhere with the catching they have. I mean, realistically, you're not winning anything with Casali and Austin Wynns behind the dish. You need something better than that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical of those guys, but
Salvador Perez.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Sean Murphy is not a great player either, but Sean Murphy is a major league caliber catcher, in my opinion. He's a little bit of a step above those guys, and he's got some upside potential as well. I think catching might be that's the biggest drop off from last year to this year is the catching, right? So,
right.
It's hard to say what they need exactly because they've got a pretty good rotation. And in April, guys, we looked at the rotation as maybe the strength of the team. And now you look at the team and you're like, well, I'm not sure about that. The bullpen has some good depth to it. It's been a little inconsistent. The offense seems like it needs a little bit more oomph, a little bit more extra base power, a little bit more balance to it. I don't know. It's hard to discern exactly what the big need is here, but to me, catching, I think, is a big part of it.
Yeah,
I know Anonymous is like, yeah, Sean Murphy's hitting 204, Larry. I know. But this is also a year where the averages are down across the sport. I mean, I'll say this. Yeah, he's hitting 204, but if you had Sean Murphy, he'd play every day over the guys they got.
Let me ask you guys this, because the Royals are in a complete rebuild. They're going nowhere. They got the worst record along with the A's in all of baseball. Would you trade a Ramos, Bart, and Sean Jelly for Whit Merrifield and Salvador Perez? I would.
I would not. I mean, Salvador Perez is old as well. I mean, how old is Salvador Perez at this point?
It's got to be like 37.
Let me check that
but
real
he's
quick.
A really good catcher. You're talking about needing a upgraded catcher, and you're.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, no, Sally's only 32. He's only 32.
He did
home runs he hit last year, like
48 home runs last year.
48 last year, yeah. Gives
He's
you
hitting
that right.
209. He's hitting 209 this year.
Yeah, but he's a threat.
10 jacks from the catcher position would be real nice.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Because I would put Merrifield at second because he plays, his position second.
I mean, you got to remember this, though.
Move,
you're trading a ton in that trade. You're getting the faces of their franchise. They're not going to give you their two faces of their franchise.
But you're
in
giving
Whit
up
Merrifield and Salvador Perez.
Prospects in Bart
What are you giving up?
Ramos. Bart, Ramos, and Jelly. I mean, that's a lot to give up.
I'd even throw in actually, no, you're right. I mean, yeah, that's pretty. I'd say that's pretty appealing if you're the Royals.
That's appealing.
I don't know
because
that those
the Royals are going nowhere. I mean,
yeah, they're going nowhere. But are you telling me they can't do better for those two guys than Bart, Ramos, and Jelly? I think they probably can.
Pick.
I mean, I'm just saying, give you an example. Let's look at last year's deal with Chris Bryant. What did the Giants have to trade to get Chris Bryant? They had to trade a guy in Caleb Killian who was like their minor league pitcher of the year. And they had to trade Canario, who has crazy bat speed and had a real explosive.
Yeah, but to your point,
month.
Larry, how many of these guys pan out when you can get two proven commodities that would help your team?
All I'm saying is you don't typically get major league talent for slumping prospects. Like you're gonna have one, like if Ramos started hitting 360 or if Jelly started just dominating, I would say go look in the Giants system for the prospect that's kicking butt. They're most likely going to want that guy. And that's always a hard bridge to cross because you see a guy in the minor leagues who's doing well and you think, well, he's doing well and maybe he's going to continue to do well. Or maybe you think, so it's just rare that you get major league players for prospects who are struggling. You know what I mean? And that's
what
Royals, Bart is, and that's kind of what Ramos is. They're struggling
Royals
prospects.
Can't pay anybody. They want a low possible payroll, and they want to build from the ground up. And
I'll tell you, if they were going to make that trade with the Royals, I'd love to have, some of the pitching. I thought that kid Bubic, the Stanford kid who's from Cupertino, the lefty.
That's what they're rebuilding their team with, though.
Singer, that's a good looking starting pitcher right there. And they have Amir Garrett. I like Amir Garrett out of their bullpen as well. He's not bad. But as far as Sally Perez and Whit Merrifield. Older guys who are the face of their franchise. I think it's going to take quite a bit to get them. That's all I'm saying.
You look at what the Cubs did last year. They got rid of Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and
They got rid of Schwarber.
I mean, they got rid of all their big names that helped them win a World Series. The Royals got to build. They have nothing to build on. Their only guys that are of value are Perez and Merrifield. The guys that are
Benintendi's hitting 300. I mean,
he's a guy you can get rid of too and get some value, but they're not going to get rid of their young pitching.
Yeah, no, most likely not. Most likely not. They're not going to.
They're rebuilding.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with the Giants, I mean, you'd have to go look at the Giants farm system and see who's really doing well, and then you'd have to trade probably the guy who's doing well.
Well, I'll tell you this. Somebody in the comment room says Ramos has little value at this point. Jay. I don't know if that's Jay Hutch or just Jay. Did he drop the Hutch or is that someone else?
Someone else.
Okay. Jay says Ramos has little value. Well, I tend to disagree because he's starting to hit, and some guys, he's only 22?
Oof.
What is Ramos? 22?
Yeah, but also
22.
A guy called Ed. That is it's a lot of money for an older catcher.
Oh, whoa, that contract? No, I don't think so. I don't 25, you're paying him $22 million.
Let me look at Sally's contract.
I'm not taking that on. I didn't know his contract.
Yeah, his contract is $20 million next year, $20 million in 24, $22 million in 25, $13.5 million club option with a $2 million buyout in 2026 So there's no chance. Sally Perez is not coming here for that contract alone.
The only reason
Farham's not going to take that.
I wouldn't take that contract either. But I'll tell you what: if you were willing to take that contract and the Giants can afford it, you don't have to give up very much to get it, because you wouldn't have to give up a Ramos and a Bart, and you might be able to get two lower level top 30, 25 to 30.
I kind of disagree just because it's a catcher. If it wasn't a catcher, that'd be one thing. But as a catcher and the lack of catching in the game
contract,
today,
though, there's only a couple teams that can afford it.
There are not too many teams that would want that contract, but You're still talking about a catcher who's on pace for 25 home runs in a league where nobody's hitting at all, and the catchers are hitting even worse.
What about Jonah Heim? That keeps getting brought up. That goes back to when I said that one day when I was like, I think I might have found a match for a catcher, the Rangers, because they've got three guys, and they've got three starting caliber catchers, and they've one better prospect than Jonah Heim. So, I mean, Heim's a big 6'4" guy. That'd be kind of exciting. I mean, he's I think he's already got 8 home runs this year.
Yeah, I don't know why they would be moving him. I mean,
they have too many cooks in the kitchen. I think they have where's their catchers?
Yeah, the Rangers.
They have Heim and Sam Huff and Mitch Garver.
And Garver, he's a guy that bats from the left side, doesn't he?
He's hurt right now, though.
Okay.
I mean, Jonah Heim is a 26-year-old catcher from who's a switch hitter, and who's hitting 250 with 8 home runs. So he's probably got pretty good value for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Well, who else is on this list?
I lost the list. There was nobody really that good. There was nothing else that was great. It was all kind of like.
What do you think of this? Jay says Giants should be sellers.
No, they're in a pennant race. Why would you sell off your team?
I'd sell off Longoria.
I don't know. I would say I'd be fine with selling, but who are you selling?
I mean, I understand from this point of maybe we have too many out. There's some addition by subtraction if we just get rid of. I mean, I don't know how much value Duggar would bring, but get rid of somebody and maybe get some prospects.
Duggar's not going to bring much in terms.
The guys on the Giants that have value would be Carlos Rodon. He's for sure would be one of the guys that has a ton of value. Potentially Alex Wood if he were healthy. If he's healthy in July, I should say. That would be, those two guys would have interest. I think there'll be interest. Heck, there might be somebody interested if you paid some of the money on Tommy La Stella. You might have somebody interested on Jock Peterson.
Someone would be very interested in Belt too, because he could be a DH first baseman, and he's a free agent after this year, but he's a kind
They're
of guy.
I don't see them in a sell mode. It just
I don't
doesn't.
either.
It just doesn't. I
It's
can't
not even worth talking about. They're not going to. They're not going to be.
They're not going to fall. I mean, they would have to fall far out, I think, before they would sell. And yet, you know, it's not like Farhan's never gone through a sale. I mean, he could sell, but it's just a matter of they seem like with the extra playoff team and the extra wild card team in the National League. I don't think they're going to be sellers. I think they're going to be buyers.
This is a team that is put together to win, but they have a lot of depth because they have guys that play roles. And let me talk about who I think is one of the unsung heroes of this ball club, and that's Wilmer Flores, a guy who can play first base. He can play third base. He can even play occasional second base, DH. That guy, if he has the right matchups, I love when he comes to the plate.
Especially against lefties.
That's what I mean. And so there's a guy who would have great value if you were in a sell-off. But
wait a second. He's not going to have great value.
Well, he'd have good value. You're
a 30-year-old guy who's floated around, who they got for nothing, whose best thing is versatility. I think he's an underrated player. Don't get me wrong, but he's not. He wouldn't net you anything of significance that would be like. I mean, heck.
None of the Giants really would net you anything of significance except Webb and Rodon.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be. So it's not worth doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's they're not going to do that because it's not worth doing. He's got more value to you than he would have in trade. Right. But I think Wilmer Flores might be one of the best pickups Farhan's made. Now you look at his numbers. This year his splits, he's 226 against left-handed pitching, 244 against right-handed pitching. If we go back to last year he was 288 against left-handed pitching, 248 against right-handed pitching. And that's a little bit more of what you're 12 home runs against righties, 6 against lefties. But he's 6 and 139 at bats. I mean, if you have a left-handed reliever and you look down your bench and Wilmer Flores is sitting there, I mean, that's a great option to have. I mean, it really is. I think he's more valuable to the Giants than he would be in a trade.
Absolutely. Like I say, they have a lot of guys that are quality players, but they're not they don't have a superstar. So they're not going to be getting a ton back. The only thing that anybody really, really would want from them is their pitching. They'd want Webb. They'd want Rodon. Other teams would want
some of the relievers might be attractive.
Someone would want a McGee for a pennant run. They want these type of guys. But those are what the Giants are going after. The Giants have a chance. In fact, I saw the odds the other day, and I want to say they were like 50-1. And I was thinking, like, dang, that's pretty for the Giants to win the World Series. I was like, that's not a bad bet because this team's going to get better. They had played the entire year without Lamont Wade, one of their key guys, role players, platoon guys, who, when facing a right-handed pitcher, is almost an all-star. Okay, hit 18 home runs last year in less than 350 at bats. I don't know how many at bats he had, but he hit
yard.
What's that?
In this yard too?
Yeah, and they don't have Belts just getting back. This team is going to get stronger, and I guarantee you, Farhan will add a significant piece. I don't know if it'll be an all-star, a Chris Bryant type, but if they are in this race still at the end of July, which they should be, like you said, Larry, unless they just fall apart in the next 5 weeks, they are going to add somebody, whether that be a starting pitcher or another bat.
What I'd like to see him do is add a young piece to the puzzle that is not a rental and it's not about this year. It's about this year and next year.
Like a Trey Turner, like the Dodgers
I don't
did
want to
last
see.
year?
I don't want to see any more. I don't want to see any more moves for rentals. I don't want to see any more Caleb Killians and Canarios for Chris Bryant rental, and then let Bryant walk. I mean, the fastest way to eliminate your depth in your organization is to trade for free agents to be, and then let those guys walk. Right. So I don't want to see that again. Yeah, I'd rather see them either, make these moves on the margins like Farhan is known for, the trading for these Austin wins and picking up DFA'd players and, shopping at the bargain bin. I'm fine with that unless they can find a young player that has control, that they can have control over. If they have a player out there that has a year or two beyond 2022 of team control, then I'm interested, and I'm even willing to pay a decent price. You want some prospects of note, I may even go that direction, but no more 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, and then watch those guys walk at the end of the year. I think the Giants need to get a player that helps them this year, but also is a foundation piece going forward. Because the one thing about the Giants, you say, what's the foundation piece of their team? Well, I would say Belt and Crawford are your foundation pieces in the infield. Both of them are older. You may not have a true foundation piece, as I would define it, in the outfield. So if you could find either a young outfielder who could be a foundation piece, or a young infielder, or somebody, a key position player who was signed beyond 2022, I'm interested. That's why the Contreras thing is so it's interesting because he's having a good year, but it's scary because of the price tag and the pending free agency.
Sure.
So if you could find somebody, like Rebel 444 says, Montas is controllable through next year, and I think Martin Perez is too. What about a guy like Laureano? Is he a guy who's, is he signed beyond this year? That would be anybody. If you could acquire a couple guys who were signed beyond this year, I think that would be more intriguing than like Frankie Montas. It says Frankie Montas is on a 1-year deal. So I think he's a free agent at the end of the year. So and as far as Laureano, I think Laureano is arbitration eligible at the end of the year. So he may have 1 more year of arbitration, but he's definitely arbitration eligible. So, and maybe Montas is as well. I don't know Montas's deal. Montas makes 1 year. He's got us on a 1-year, $5 million deal, and they avoided arbitration. Is arbitration 2 years or 3 years? Do you know?
I think it's 3 years.
I think it's 3.
So we might have one. So Montas and Laureano may have.
Laureano has 2 more.
Well, Montas may have 1 more year of arbitration. And Laureano's on a 1-year, $2.45 million this year, and he was in arbitration. They avoided it this year, but so I think he might have 2 years of arbitration. So maybe there's some control there with Montas. See, now that players that have control, now I'm interested. Now
you want a player who's got under team control, who I'd love to have. It'd be tough to do an interdivision trade. Within division trade, but a guy I would love for the Giants to have would be Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks. He can play center field and second base, switch hitter, and that guy can rake. And they just signed him. He was a possible trade, and the Diamondbacks just extended him to a 3 or 4 year deal.
He's their guy that they've paid.
And I would go after him, and I would take Bumgarner's contract because they want to get rid of Bumgarner and say, you give me Ketel Marte, we'll take Bumgarner, and we'll give you a couple of our better prospects.
I don't see it happening. Here's why.
And Lamont Wade.
They had Marte on a 5-year, $24 million deal that goes through this year. And it had options for next year and the year after. And they just signed him to a 5-year, $76 million extension. And then they give him an option in 2028. So, I mean, Marte is under a contract that next year he makes 11, then he makes 13, then he makes 16, then he makes 16, then he makes 14, and then there's a $13 million club option. So there's a lot of money there. I mean, if the Diamondbacks were truly poor and couldn't pay their bills, maybe you could make a deal like that and take the Bumgarner money off their hands and, take that $40 million commitment of Bumgarner off their hands and for it, get a guy like Marte. But man, that would be a huge that's an ownership decision because that's a ton of cash.
For the Giants to take on?
Yeah. I mean, if they took on, well, think about it. The deal you just suggested was Bumgarner and Marte. Right. Well, Bumgarner's got, I already told you, Bumgarner's making 23 this year. And so he's making 23 next year and 14 in 2024. So he's got 37 million. So figure the rest of this year, he's got 40 million of commitment for Bum. Probably closer to 45. So you got 45 million roughly for Bum, and then you're going to take on, another 76 million. I mean, we're talking about, well over somewhere close to 100 to 115, 120 million dollars in commitments if you exercise those options on Marte.
But Marte's a player.
There's no question Marte's a player. But I'm just saying, when you're taking on $100 million, that's above Farhan. That's a Larry Bear. That's an ownership decision.
But Marte, his star potential, he really is, and he's what 29.
And Bum still has box office. So
yeah.
Bum would put butts in the seats.
Playoff series.
I would love to do that deal because I think the Diamondbacks they are going with their younger guys, and by the time they are ready, the guys like Pavin Smith and Varsho and a couple of the other guys, when those guys are hitting their prime, Marte's leaving it. Okay. And so they're not going to go anywhere with what they have. They need to get a lower payroll and get some young stars like Tampa Bay or the Atlanta Braves did and build up their team. And because they're not going to go anywhere.
They're going to try to do the Giants they're not going to do it the way some of those teams did. They're not going to tear it down to the studs and have it be a ghost town. I mean, it's already the attendance is down, but they're not going to just, tear it down, trade off all kinds of guys. They're going to try to do what they're currently doing, which is operate on the margins and, try to find small, good deals to complement the amateur draft and build through the draft. But now we're in year 4? Is that what it is? This is the 4th year for Farhan and Gabe?
19, 20,
19, 20, 21, and this is 22. This is the 4th year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most GMs, let's say, take over. They have a 5-year plan, let's say. When you get to year 5, it's time to start seeing some results. Now, the 107, you could say, is results, right? I mean, they won 107 games last year. But I think what we're really looking for is that prospect that Farhan and Scott and all their new lieutenants identified in the draft, brought into their system, developed through the minor leagues, and are now promoting to the major leagues, who can be, your new Crawford or your new Belt or your new ace in your rotation. They're looking for a draft of, like the Giants had Kane and Bumgarner and Lincecum, and, Farhan and Scott are within a year or two. They're going to have to show some. Well, that was some of these guys are going to have to graduate, right? Kyle Harrisons of the world are going to have to come to the major leagues. Luis Matos, Hunter Bishop, Elliot Ramos, whoever these people are. They're going to have to graduate to the big leagues and start to impact the thing, or Giants fans are going to start to say, hey, what's going on here?
Well, I think that's where they're really going with this pitching. If you look at what they've drafted and the projected timeline, their estimated time of arrival, they got Kyle Harrison on their Giants website. they've got next year, 23. Now, that's probably late 23 call up if he comes up at all, but I would say more like 24. Okay.
Well, where is he right now? He's in AA, right?
He's in AA. He's a year and a half away.
He might be up this year. He could be up in September if he's in AA.
He could, but Will Bednar, they've got him listed 2023. He was
Where's
number
he?
one. He's at Eugene, I believe. He's
which is high A.
High A. So he'll be at AA probably soon, and then
he's
they got
probably a year away. He's probably going to have a full year in AA next year.
And then they got Matt Milkuski, the guy from, I think it was Fordham or something like that, but he's 2024, a left-handed. He's their number 9 prospect. So they have 3 pitchers that they've drafted in the last 2 years that are in their top 10. That's your Kane, Lincecum, Bumgarner that I think they're putting a lot of their.
Still have Wheeler.
Yeah. And then they've also
hold that thought for just a second, since Ryan needs to take a quick break. Let's do it. We'll run our ads right here. I just read that in the chat, and we'll be right back with more on the Krueger Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueger. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimilgio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coccimilgio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueger Show. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueger Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueger Show t-shirt, the Krueger Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueger Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueger Show. Thanks to them as well.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
Life is good. Welcome back to the Krueger Show. Hope you're having a phenomenal Saturday. If you're just tuning in, Giants beat the Pirates again at PNC Park in Pittsburgh today behind Alex Wood. 7-5 was the final. A game that went on and on and on and on. I thought we were going to be on right around 4 o'clock. We didn't get on until 5. The game just kept going and going and going. A guy called Ed. We were talking about outfielders available. He says, how about Tommy Pham? Would you like to see Tommy Pham?
Yeah, I'm sure that would be a good one. Him and Jock. That would get.
Hey guys, not to change the subject from the Giants, but I gotta say, so I was just scrolling Twitter really quickly, and I saw Wiseman was trending, so I clicked on it, and I guess so there's now a GQ article from a Steph Curry GQ article that's circulating that was back in January called what is it called? The Second Coming of Steph Curry. And I just thought this was really interesting because this shows you how Steph Curry and Draymond feel about Wiseman. We all love all the other young guys, but this is what he wants. Curry, for his part, dreams of a future 5 years from now where Poole is an all-star, Kuminga is an all-defensive player, and Wiseman is an MVP candidate. He and Green will be fulfilled then, he says. He thinks they think Wiseman is going to be the next guy. So I'm just throwing that out because that is pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Let me throw this out to kind of push back on that. James Wiseman says there's a 90% chance that he plays in Summer League.
Yeah.
You know what? It's such a tough spot the Warriors are in because it's almost like you've run like a half a marathon and you've had this guy, and so it's like if you get rid of James Wiseman, you're getting rid of him for pennies on the dollar. You're not going to get full value or anything close to it. And then you look at his potential and you say, wow, if this guy ever gets the knee right, trading him is going to look like the worst decision of all time. But if the thing's chronic and he never gets right, that's going to look like one of the worst busts of all time.
Well, let's look at it this way. He didn't have any knee,
James Wiseman.
He didn't have any knee issues until the meniscus. I've had 2 meniscus surgeries myself. And
so has he. He had a meniscus surgery, then he had the arthroscopic cleanup.
Yeah,
and
the cleanup.
He hasn't been able to get going ever since.
I had a meniscus done about a little over a year ago, and it needed a cleanup. And I was just like,
and you haven't had a 20-10 game since.
I know. I've
that's the thing, and I can't play you on back-to-back nights.
I know.
If I got a Warrior post game on a Friday, I got to lean on Rye a little bit more on Saturday because Danny's got that bum wheel.
I just don't have it.
When sometimes you go to you clap up and you're like, hey, where's Faith and where's Buster? Sometimes I see you moving. You're not moving to the right. You move to the left pretty good, but when you move to the right, I can see that knee pain. And the meniscus, I don't say anything about it, but I think to myself, damn, Danny's got that meniscus right now, and he's not moving to his right. So, and then when we go 3, 4, 5 live streams in a row, by that 4th or 5th live stream,
I'm shocked.
I'm worried if the meniscus is going to get you through to the end. So
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's a tricky thing.
Yeah,
Think about this spin zone, though, is because what if we didn't win the title, there'd be a lot of, oh my God, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball were the 2 picks right around Wiseman.
Edwards did go first, so they couldn't have got Edwards, but they passed on LaMelo.
But
who does the most annoying commercials of all time, by the way.
Most annoying, but also he would not have been as good as Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole would not be who he is now. And Poole is going to be is a guy that's much more willing. He was humbled by the G League to play his role. You are not seeing defensive effort from LaMelo Ball, and you are not seeing him take a backseat role in the playoffs.
He doesn't have the maturity or the dedication that Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's the first guy in, the last guy out of the gym.
There's not let's be honest, though, guys. Enough of the Warrior love here. Right. There's not a GM in the NBA that if you offered him LaMelo Ball for Jordan Poole wouldn't be like, done. Like that deal's done in a second.
Bob Myers,
so I'm with you. I like Jordan Poole too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what LaMelo would have been with the Warriors, but Come on. I mean, LaMelo's still damn good. And you could have played Steph off the ball a little bit more. And in this guard heavy era, who knows? Maybe they'd been better. Maybe they would have swept Boston if they had had LaMelo. I don't know. LaMelo's pretty freaking awesome, though, wouldn't you say? I mean, LaMelo's a pretty dominant point guard.
If you had the option in like 2017 to trade Klay Thompson for James Harden when he was doing all his crazy scoring stuff, I still wouldn't do it because it just wouldn't work with the geometry of the team.
No,
I think it's kind of that situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Warriors don't want LeVar Ball.
That's true.
They do not want LeVar Ball. They don't.
You know what? They would take LeVar Ball if Wiseman's knee doesn't clean up. Come on, in hindsight they would have taken LeVar Ball.
Yeah, but I think going into it that played into it. I would even think too is like
if Wiseman. Yeah, I agree. If Wiseman becomes what they think he's going to become, there's no doubt that Golden State's going to be better next year than this year.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Larry. You made the comment 90%. What were you was that a sarcastic?
That was the story.
I mean, was 90%? Was that like a
what 90% for refresh me now?
90% that he plays in the summer league.
That was a quote from him.
Yeah. Are you saying that sarcastically? Like, no,
I'm quoting him.
I know, but what was your take behind that?
My take is he hasn't played the entire freaking year, and now he's been doing nothing but sitting out. But now he's not even a lock to play in the summer league in a few weeks.
That's what I thought you're.
So I mean, that's the thing. I mean, is he Greg Odom? I mean, Greg Oden, I should say. He might be. He might be, I hope that's not the case. I hope he, because it sounds like he's a great kid. He's smart. He's willing to learn. He's willing to work. They love the guy. So hopefully the knee checks out, because to me, he's a solid, he's a meniscus away from being, the difference maker. And I also read today that the Hornets and the Kings are preparing a aggressive play for Kevon Looney in free agency. So I think Golden State is most likely going to lose Looney. Did you guys see Kenny Atkinson?
Yes, I was going to mention that.
He's not going to Charlotte and he's sticking around. What do you think of that?
It's a good move. Here's why I think it's a good move.
He backed out of Charlotte to be the head coach to stay with the Warriors. I think Joe Lacob or Steve Kerr. I think Steve Kerr may have said to him, "Hey, man, I'm going to do this for 2 more years."
Exactly. That was my.
I'm going to do this for 2 more years, and then Lacob said, "Hey, Kenny." When I was going to go to Mike Brown, but Mike Brown's gone off to Sacramento. So Kenny, you want to stick around? And then the other top assistants are either too young or too old. And Ron Adams, Kenny's the next head coach of the Warriors. And is it going to be in a year? Maybe. I think it's definitely going to be within 2. That would be my guess. Otherwise, why turn that down?
I was thinking the same thing, Larry, and I'm thinking it's more toward the. Like you say, could be 2, maybe 3 at the tops.
Well, think of it this way. Kerr's got 9. Right. He's got 9 rings and a boatload of cash and a family that he actually gives a damn about. Right. Some of these guys, you got to do some research and figure out, do they have anybody they'd rather spend time with? Some guys don't, they just want to be lifers. Kerr does. Kerr's got a wife. Kerr's got kids. He's a normal guy. And I believe that Kerr will have enough once he's got the 10. I think
if he gets, is he 60, close to 60?
He's got a little.
I would say he's like 56. That'd be my guess.
Here's what I wouldn't be surprised to see Steve Kerr do. Like you said, Larry, I was thinking the same thing when I read.
He gets one more. That's 10 rings. Yeah. Do you need more than 10?
His best shot to get one more is next year. Okay. Maybe 2 years. He's got 2 years left with this group to get one more title. That's my thinking with Curry, Clay, and Green. In the 3rd year from now, those 3 guys are not going to be the main guys. Curry still may be the main guy, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Kerr go, like you said, 2 years and then go into a political career. I could see Steve Kerr running for
but talk about like the one
governor of California or something.
Okay,
What's that?
Governor of California. But like, talk about like the one thing that's like even more stressful than.
Yeah, I don't know. Kerr, does he?
I don't know. He's
I mean,
very
I think
passionate
he
about-
absolutely could win on a national stage, but I don't think, does he want to bring on does he want to invite the circus to town and then subject his family? But then pretty soon there's stories about his wife and there's stories about his kids. And
I don't know.
he seems too regular. He seems too normal. You have to be a narcissist to run for president. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody who's run for president deep down is a narcissist. Come on. You're not a normal person if you're running for president. You're not. You just nobody who runs for president's normal. Steve's normal, so I don't think he wants to run for president. But maybe, you know what, governor of California, that might be
Arnold.
That's what I said. Governor of California. I could see him wanting to.
Because you're going to get some hate, but it's not going to be like crazy hate. It's going to be
immediately Northern California. Like, we'll just refuse to say anything bad about him.
Here's I don't know what where he leans. Maybe he runs as an independent. I don't know, but I would think the situation with Atkinson, he was probably given a nice raise to remain as the top assistant. And whether he was, promised a gig when Kerr retires, whenever that is, I don't know. But
I believe he was.
But take a look at what he's giving up. Charlotte is up and coming, but are they going to win a title against Milwaukee, Boston, Miami in the next 3 years? He was getting a 3-year deal, or I think it was a 3-year deal he was getting at Charlotte. But
Kenny just said, hey, my wife loves the Bay Area. The kids love the school they're in. I was just joking about it on Twitter last week that he just had this big, I love the Bay Area. I love the Bay Area. I love the Bay Area. And then he's off to Charlotte. And I'm like, you know what? It's never pay attention to anything these guys say again. But then, after watching him reverse course here, maybe he truly does love it here. And maybe he understands the value of the one thing that to me I've gotten out of the last 24 hours is, and maybe it's easy to say when you win, but just listening to a man across the board. I mean, some of these people are people that I know, like friends of mine who work in that organization. Some of them are just quotes from players, but the Warriors clearly treat their team well.
Yes.
And you heard Wiggins say, hey, man, it's a family here. You heard Gary Payton say, hey, it's a family here. And it's not a family everywhere. And there's Otto Porter, I think, made that comment. Hey, look, man, they treat everybody here really, really well. It's like a family. And then I just listening to Kerr talk about the night they won the title and how they had an organization only type party for the players and their families. And I just think that it's not your typical pro sports environment. I think they have it's a little bit more close knit. I think they've done a really good job at kind of keeping the outsiders outside and celebrating the inside. And I think it's something that DeBartolo did. I think Lakeup has copied it with the Warriors. And I think they've got a phenomenal organization top to bottom, and I would not be running away from that organization. If I was the assistant GM, I'd stay in my spot. If I was an assistant coach, I'd stay in my spot. If I was a role player, I'd stay in my spot. Why? Because Steph is a superstar, but he's likable. And, maybe Wiseman
person
and Klay Thompson the same, and Draymond Green the same, and Wiseman the same. And, Wiseman may be that superstar player, and he's a likable young guy. He may be the next superstar. And Moses Moody and Kuminga are getting nothing but better. So they're poised. If Wiseman, it's all about Wiseman and the meniscus. If that meniscus is clean, and he can go forward pain-free at some point and continue to, get better and better and better. That what we're looking at right now they may have 2 or 3 more rings in them.
They might.
And then if you're Kenny Atkinson, you want to win a couple more rings on the way to being handed the keys to the kingdom.
Oh, it's the Josh McDaniels Colt situation, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
I think Atkinson's smart.
if you're Atkinson, all that stuff about the schools and everything. And then you think about the fact that he completely turned around the Brooklyn Nets organization and made it a place where it was palatable for Katie and Kyrie to come. And then you know what? They said, sorry, man, we liked what you did. We liked all the stuff you put in place, but like, you're not our guy. Like, we want somebody that's going to kind of let us be the coach and whatever. And he kind of got screwed. And then
there's no cap for assistants, right?
No.
Can't they pay him whatever they want?
They can pay him whatever they want. And it's like, he can stay here. He can trust the ownership. He sees how well everyone's taken care of. It's just like, it honestly is more job security.
Well, I think what happened, to be honest with you, is between after the championship run was over, Lacob, Kerr got together with Kenny and said, look, we don't want to lose you. Because, look, if they would have lost Brown and Atkinson, that's a lot of changeover to bring in an entire new coaching staff. Kerr trusts Atkinson. He likes what he brought to the table, has head coaching experience, has a similar mindset.
He really is, not to interrupt you, Danny, but he's has a real strong player development bend, and that seems to be kind of a theme going forward.
Yeah. Team. He's going to have his fingerprints all over these young guys as they grow as players, and then he's going to be their head coach.
Yeah, and so whether it's 2 years, 3 or 4 at the most, who knows? Atkinson can hang around, doesn't have the stress of running an organization and then getting fired 3 years from now, 4 years from now, because Charlotte didn't, do the deal. And he gets in and he has an organization where he's at the top. I mean, it's a smart move on his part.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I don't think he's that old, is he? Is he only about 50?
He looks relatively young, but I mean, if I had to guess, you say, hey, give me your best guess on this. I think Kerr is into round numbers. I think he's got 9 rings. I think he wants 10. I think, especially after you just won and you saw how hard it was.
How many Phil Jackson have?
I don't know.
More, I think.
One more.
I think he's got 10 or 11. How many? Let me see.
I would say 11.
You know what?
I would say 11. Count them up, though. That would. Because he's got 3 with. Well, he had 3 with the Lakers. We had 3 with the Lakers, 5 with the Bulls, and then what? Did he win?
Then he won another 2 with Kobe.
I thought he won. He won 3 with the Lakers. I thought it was maybe it's 8. Maybe it's 8. 3 and 5. Or Jordan won 5 or 6? 6.
Phil Jackson
He's 9.
has.
He's 9. It should be 9.
11.
I thought it was 11. Is it 11?
Yeah, it's 11.
He's got 5 with the Lakers.
Remember, he came back and coached Kobe and Pau for those 2.
He has 13. He has 13.
He had the 3 from the 3-peat.
Phil Jackson has 13 rings.
He got one with the Knicks? No.
He wrote a book called 11 rings, so I think 11.
I'm reading 13. Says 13 NBA champion. 2 of those rings are from his time as a player with the Knicks.
Okay, 2 with the Knicks.
And he's got
must
11,
be
6 with the Bulls.
6 with the Bulls and 5 with the Lakers.
6, 5, and 2. Yep.
Huh. So, Portola 45 says sales tax in California 7%, state tax 5%. He said North Carolina sounds affordable. There's no question that North Carolina is a way more affordable state to live in than California. I mean, anybody can do the quick math on that and figure that out. But I don't think Kenny Atkinson is going to be hurting for cash in either spot. Okay. And I'll take the West Coast, is many things, bad things you want to say about California. The weather, there's no humidity here. I mean, go stand right now on a corner in any city in California and go stand on a corner in Charlotte. And you tell me after 15 minutes of standing there, if you would rather live in that humidity. I mean, that, if you grew up in it, that's one thing. If you're not from there, that's oppressive humidity. I don't know.
Let's talk to our producer about that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Danny, you're in the desert. It's hot in the desert, but I'd take Phoenix over North Carolina as far as heat. Yeah, there's heat, but it's incredibly hot and it's also uncomfortable. But the humidity,
there's not that much humidity at all here.
Really bad in the southeast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've lived down in New Orleans area, and it's horrible.
Oh my goodness! I played golf one time in New Orleans. I sweat. It was like in July. I sweat more walking from the clubhouse to the first tee than I would in 18 holes in California. Absolutely. I'm not even joking you. I'm like walking to the first tee. I'm like, I got to change my shirt. I'm like, I seriously want to change my shirt. I haven't even hit one ball yet. And it was like, you play 18 in California, you don't sweat nearly that much.
Okay, here's the ages. Steve Kerr's 56.
Yeah, that was a pretty good guess on my part, 56.
Yeah, Kenny Atkinson is 55, and Mike Brown is 52.
Had a lot of mileage.
Yeah, Steve Kerr has
and he's got 9 rings. 9 rings. I mean, get that 10th and go hang out on a beach. I mean, if I'm Steve, I mean, you got kids and you got a wife and you're, why not buy he lives in San Diego. Well, have you been to San Diego? San Diego's awesome.
He went through it after the 2016 season.
I'd live in that little area right between Pacific Beach and the Bay.
Oh, yeah. I went to school in San Diego. That little
strand. And then, put the car away and just ride a bike around and listen to music and work on my tan. I mean,
I love San Diego.
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara's nice. San Diego's, to me, the best place to live in California. I lived there for a year.
Everyone in LA, like I noticed, because living in LA, it's really is you think beaches, but it's 40 minutes to the beach wherever.
San Diego rocks. I had a 3-hour. I had a flight that was supposed to leave at 6 that didn't leave till 9. I wasn't even pissed. I was like, 3 more hours in San Diego. There's worse things
down there, downtown. The gas lamp district.
Oh, the gas lamp is awesome. The beaches are awesome.
Yeah,
it's there this year.
I'm going to go down there for the. I think it's the Giants play here in Arizona on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, maybe the 7th. I'd have to look, and then they go to San Diego. So I'm going to hit like 6-7 games in a row. I'm going to
the team hotel that the Giants stay at there in I think not Coronado, but it's right there by the gas lamp.
Is it
it's
the Hyatt?
Awesome.
No, not the Hyatt.
It might be the Hyatt. It might be the Hyatt.
I think it is. I had.
And it's awesome.
I was going to go there in 2020, and then they had I had reservations. Everything was walking right across to the stadium. And
Portola 45 said La Jolla or Coronado Island. So my kid applied to or was visiting UC San Diego. Mm-hmm. So my wife and my 2 older kids went on the tour at there, and I took the kids to the beach down at La Jolla. Actually, we played baseball in this park that's right above the beach, right where this little crescent goes out, and all these sea lions are sitting there. And I'm sitting there going, my goodness, man, La Jolla. La Jolla. I mean, why? If you're in La Jolla, why would you go anywhere? Why would you go anywhere else? I mean, that's a great spot. I mean, there's no. I love the Bay Area. Born and raised in San Francisco, but there's no Bay Area. We don't have a La Jolla here. We don't have that kind of weather. We don't have that kind of warmth. We don't have those kinds of beaches. Pacific Beach. Compare Ocean Beach to Pacific Beach. Compare La Jolla to, Pacifica. I mean, it's just come on. There's not night and day.
It's not bad, but still, that's still a couple hours away.
Matthew Mears. I had a friend in La Jolla. San Diego is really cool. Yeah, San Diego. If San Diego had more industry, San Diego is one of those places you got to have money and then go there. If you go there trying to make money, you're going to be hurting. But or if you can live virtually, if you can work virtually, man, that's the spot. That's the spot. Dusty Golds had been at the gas lamp. My nephew was there. Was at Triton. I've never been to Triton College, but the gas lamp is incredible, man. It's Petco's really underrated. The gas lamp's fun. San Diego. I mean, it's 77 degrees on Christmas Day. You're walking around in shorts and t-shirts, and it's come on.
Beautiful. They're beautiful. Yeah. I've got a
guy called Ed said, I went to UCSD. I took a 5th year on purpose. Exactly. Oh, and then someone says UC San Diego Tritons. San Diego, all three of those schools, San Diego State, UC San Diego, University of San Diego, which is a good Jesuit school, beautiful campus, all of them incredible. When I was in high school, you could get into San Diego State with like a 2.8 GPA.
I know. Now it's hard.
My daughter had friends who had like a 3.95 and got turned down to San Diego State. And I'm like, what? You have a 3.95 GPA. You didn't get into San Diego State, but it's supply and demand, man. People want to be down there.
Exactly.
It takes a 4.0 to get into San Diego State.
Absolutely. Yeah, college is insane. That sucks. I pity everyone that comes after me.
Totes my goats. I love 45 degrees on Christmas Day in San Francisco. Thank you, Totes.
I like the East Bay weather. It gets like 90 in the summer. And then it's not.
Listen to this one. A guy called Ed. He said, I had a 4.55 GPA and got rejected by Cal and UCLA. By the way, nobody gets into UCLA. So just forget about that. I mean, if you want to get into UCLA is like 2 people for every 2,000 people that apply. But we went down there and walked around on their campus a couple years ago. Man, UCLA's campus is
my sister played volleyball there, and like Westwood it's a joke where she lived. Oh my god,
how much it costs to live off campus is crazy too.
Yeah. Have you ever been?
My daughter did not get in there. I was like, oh, that's so disappointing. But deep down, I was like, yes.
Check this view. Check this view
I do
out.
not want to pay $3,500 a month for my kid's college apartment.
Check that view out at La Jolla right there.
Oh,
my wife and I, Eddie V's. You ever been to Eddie V's?
No. Is it a great spot?
That's
nice.
Is that the one that's down there, or what's that called? Not the pier, but
it's Eddie V's Prime Seafood. It's the best view in town.
Is it? It looks like it. It looks
it's
like
awesome. Here, there is actually. This is from my. Let me see if I can show it to you. A video as we're sitting and eating. Check this out. I'm looking out the window as we're eating, and these guys are out there on a cliff out there. That's just right outside the restaurant.
I mean,
that's an incredible spot. It's an absolutely incredible spot.
It's tough to beat. I mean, it's really sad, but like going to UC Santa Barbara and living literally where your backyard was the ocean and you had a deck on the ocean and you could hit golf balls onto the ocean. And it's really, really sad. But after about 2 weeks, you just kind of get used to it, and you're just like, whatever.
And when Kramer and the Seinfeld hit the golf ball, they got stuck in the blowhole. Anonymous says, I got into Cal, but got rejected by UCLA. My daughter goes there now. Yeah. I mean, and the fact that your daughter got in there, anonymous, just, that you should add that to your resume. My daughter got into UCLA. Dusty Gold says nobody gets into Stanford, Larry. Well, whatever. Stanford. I mean, Stanford is a great spot too. There's no question about it. Yeah, no, it's. I don't know how we got into the discussion. We were talking about Kerr, and he lives in San Diego. But if I'm Kerr, this is my favorite one of the chat. 916_49er. If I was Kerr, I'd win number 10, then sip Mai Tais on Baker's Beach with a fat cigar with funny stuff inside of it. Yeah, Baker's Beach with your windbreaker and your
maybe a
jacket and your sweatpants and your cigar. The ash from your cigar would blow into your eyes because there's so much wind right there. I mean, Baker's Beach is nice, and we hung out there in high school a lot. But come on. I mean, Baker's Beach versus Pacific Beach. That's not a hard call.
What about also if Kerr can get to 10, I think this will be a talking point. If Kerr can get to 10, that's unreal. If all the guys, the trio, can get one more, all of a sudden that's 5 rings. LeBron has 4. Whose era was it? If we can get one more.
I don't think they care about that. I really don't.
Probably not. I don't. But for us, it's fun to talk about.
No, absolutely. It's a great discussion point.
I think these guys will. I don't know how many years Clay has on his contract in Green. Is it 2 more years they have each?
I can tell you. The best website for that kind of stuff is Hoops Hype.
Okay. I know Curry's got 4 more, doesn't he? Didn't he just sign for, or does he have 3? I don't know what. I'm thinking if they've got
I'll
2
tell you right
years,
now.
Okay.
So the Warriors had the number 1 payroll in basketball, $178 million. Curry goes 45.7 this year. Then his salary, 48 next year, 51 the year after that, 55 the year after that, 59 in 25-26, and it may go beyond that.
I think he said. I thought he signed.
Clay
for 4 years.
has 2 more years, 40 million next year, 43 million the year after.
And then
Draymond's got 25.8 million next year, and then he's got an option of some kind for 27.5 million. It's a player option.
Okay,
so Draymond's got 2 more years if he wants it, and so does Clay.
Here's my prediction. I believe this is what they would love to do because they came short of three-peating in 19 against Toronto. Those guys go all out for a three-peat, and Clay and Dre are done.
Well, that'd be unreal. Even if they could go 2 out of 3.
But if they get – but with the I think they don't have it in them to go more than 2 after 2 years. They just don't. They'll
I mean, they may. I mean, you got to remember it's basketball, and I would say, 2 more years is I'm glad they're under contract for 2 more years because in my mind that's their perfect window. And then after that, let's see.
Done. They're
let's
done.
See. They're done at making $45 million. No, that's for damn sure.
I don't think the Warriors.
I don't know if they'll be done.
If they re-sign him. Clay will want to keep playing because he loves basketball so much. I could see Drake going into some kind of media or something, and he retires with 6 rings. I mean, come on, that matches Michael. So
isn't that incredible?
If they were to do that,
by the way, hold that, Jaren Jackson. You saw Clay's? We played it last night, or was it? Yeah, it was last night we played that. The Jaren Jackson, the Klay Thompson. Hold that. You never been there before. You've never been there before, bruh. That was just beautiful. I love Klay Thompson, man. I love his trash talk. It's the best.
I could see them going all out for 2 years and knowing that they leave it all on the court. I could see Draymond walking away. Clay maybe signing back for just a little bit to kind of help the younger people.
Into like Ray Allen on the Heat with LeBron there.
I think
it's hard to say who's got more left between Clay and Draymond because Clay's had the significant injuries. He's missed a lot of time, so maybe there's less tread on those tires. But he played so much before he got hurt.
But
I don't know. But
Curry will finish out though.
Curry's going to go. They're going to go to the finish line with Curry.
Yeah,
I would love to see them go to the finish line with all 3 of those guys.
Well, I
somehow, some way.
I could see Dre if the Warriors were to win at least in the second year when his contract ends. But if they won both, I could see him just saying, "Hey, I got 6 rings. I matched my idol, Michael, and
I've been to 2 more finals than Michael.
I've been to 8, and I'm going to retire." And the Warriors build around an aging Curry, and Curry he could even become a 6th man in the last year or 2.
On that last championship team.
Well, it's interesting too. That's why if they had LaMelo, then they could have played Curry kind of off the ball a little bit, and that would save his career. What do you think of what's Jordan Poole going to do going forward? Is he going to be
way better?
Is he your replacement for Curry? Or is he your replacement for Thompson?
No, I think Moody's Thompson. I think Moody
is Poole a 1 or is Poole a 2?
I think he'll turn into a 1 because of his ability to drive.
Yeah, Curry's in between 2. I think that he'll just do a lot of that off-ball stuff and but also be a primary ball handler. And then maybe I don't know if Kuminga can kind of do some of the Draymond stuff or one of those guys.
Yeah, definitely. Moody can do some of the Clay stuff. Moody's a 6'5". What is 6'5" or 6'6"?
6'7".
Yeah,
Clay, I listen to 6'6", 6'7".
Moody is
and Wiggins.
Yeah, there's Wiggins. By the way, just clearing up the chat here, Anonymous. Isla Vista is pretty damn cool too. Best Halloween parties. Man, I've been down there for the ISVT, the inter sorority volleyball tournament. Man, that was a weekend. a guy called Ed, UCSB, the place to go for Halloween. Well, I think it used to be. I don't know if it still is.
Not anymore.
Now it's like, now it's I was down in Santa Barbara one time, and it was Halloween weekend, and there was all these cops at the hotel I was staying at, and I'm like, where are you guys all coming from? Like, oh yeah, we're coming in from Cayucas, and they're coming in from here, and basically they just call every cop in the greater region to Santa Barbara for Halloween weekend, and they all just come down and they work overtime to bust all those college kids.
And they make curfews super early, and so literally on Halloween, like everyone is always like, oh dude, how cool is Halloween Isla Vista? Every year it's like the fraternities either will do something like the weekend before, or we just all just stayed inside and watched movies. Like,
yeah, I think Halloween weekend down in Santa Barbara's jumped the shark, as they like to say. Yeah. Clarence Beeks, I was put on the waiting list for St. Ignatius. Hey, Clarence, good luck. All I'll say is, fist in the air. Go Cats, get them Cats. Go get them Cats. This Clarence Speaks is I got put on the wait list, still waiting. Well, good luck. I will say this: best high school in San Francisco by far.
Really?
St. Ignatius High School. Better than University, better than Lake Wilmerding, better than Sacred Heart, better than Reardon, better, just the best high school in San Francisco, best campus, easily the best high school. The Jesuits do it right. Dusty Gold says, Larry, your Hornets, baby. That's right. How about a little bzz, bzz for my Hornets?
Hey, we gotta do a show coming up here before free agency with the NBA coming up here in the next couple weeks.
We'll do a draft show this week. Yeah. I don't know where you guys are for the draft on the 23rd, which is coming up. Which is that?
Love to do
Thursday or Tuesday?
For sure. I think it's Thursday.
Thursday night. Let's do a live stream for the draft.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top 50 free agents. The 3 of the Warriors are on there in Looney, Porter, and Payton.
And I'll say it right now. Payton. The priority has to be Payton.
Yeah.
Payton. I love Looney, but the priority in free agency has got to be Gary Payton. You have to bring back Gary Payton. So, Gary Payton's a difference maker. We said it all year. I don't know that Kerr actually believed us until the playoffs.
Yeah.
Seriously, the way he kind of doled out the minutes, I'm not 100% sure that Steve Kerr believed that Gary Payton was a dominant player, until they got to the playoffs and he did it. I mean, I asked him about Gary Payton a dozen times over the last couple of years, and he always had great things to say. But you speak with your allotment of minutes, with how you dole out those minutes. And the minutes that he gave Gary Payton said that he thought he was a role player. But Gary Payton is more than a role player, because he helps you in today's NBA. He helps you on both ends of the floor. He's a crazy defender on the defensive end. But then how about I thought one of my favorite sequences in the entire playoff run was the shot in the finals where he took the 3, Robert Williams extended on him, and then he just followed his shot, picked up the rebound, drove in and put it in. It was absolutely textbook, and it's the kind of Gary Payton's a finisher on the offensive end. He's an underrated passer. He's a suffocating defender.
And when you add it all,
and he's tough as hell, and he's a Bay Area kid. And when you add it all up together, you got to bring him back, man. And I don't care if it's a 2-year deal or 3-year deal. I don't care if the money looks a little bit too high. I want Gary Payton back. I'll say goodbye to Otto Porter. I can replace Bielitsa. I think I can replace Looney with Wiseman.
You're going to need one more big man, though, after. So who is that? Who is
in the draft?
Who's
maybe
that guy
Kofi,
that comes?
Maybe Kofi Coburn from Illinois.
Do you
big
think
7-footer.
JaVale McGee comes and signs a
JaVale
minimum?
McGee, that's a great call. JaVale McGee in free agency might be the call.
Another free agent.
Look at Danny showing off the Casio. Did you see that?
Did
you see that? He's like,
the Casio, man.
Should it be JaVale McGee? Look at my Casio, everybody.
This is
Thank you.
I got to put on my Apple Watch.
Got my Casio.
No, there's a couple of centers. There's Robinson of the Knicks, he's only 24, but I
love Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah,
Great defender.
I'd rather have team control. Like I think that they're going to end up just drafting another like maybe the Arizona kid, Coloco.
Yes, Christian Coloco is 7'1". He or the Duke
They
guy,
gotta
Mark
have
Williams.
a solid backup though, veteran, because if Wiseman goes down and Looney's not on the team, you need a McGee or a Robinson. You can't depend on a second round rookie to be your backup who could be.
But the way Looney played in these playoffs and the money that the Kings or the Hornets or some of these teams will throw at him, with what you're paying, now that Wiggins has established that he's going nowhere, now that Poole's kind of established that he could potentially be a max player, I think the downside of those positive developments is now you can no longer afford Kevon Looney.
Right. Yeah, You're going to have to get a guy like a JaVale McGee who wants to win a championship again.
Rebel 44 says Orlando Robinson from Fresno State. That's not a bad name maybe in round 2.
Is Ibaka a free agent this year?
I don't see him on there.
He broke down a little bit this year. Marquise Chris might be out there.
You know what, guys? I was really interesting. You brought up the Peyton thing with Steve Kerr because I don't know. The storyline this whole time has been, the big three of the Warriors, the older guys, didn't want him. They wanted Avery Bradley.
Right.
But the ownership went for Gary Payton and the coaching. I was listening to the Draymond Green live podcast at 4 a.m. I think Dan was as well. And he brought Gary Payton on and they were talking super candidly. And Payton was like basically saying, you know what, guys, like, thank you so much. He was saying that Steph and Draymond were the one that were pushing for Payton and that it was kind of the other way around. It made it seem like originally they liked Bradley, but then they had both of them compete. And I guess it was just like nonstop Steph and Draymond banging the table for Gary Payton. And he was like so thankful for it. So I don't know.
That's funny because it played the oppositely, in the rumor mill.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm looking at the free agent list right now as well.
I am too. I'm trying to find a center.
Nurkic is out there. He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah. The guys that are down to do the 1 year order.
Bobby Portis might be interesting.
I love Bobby Portis.
Chris Boucher.
Montrezl Harrell is out there.
Yeah, Harrell was one.
Harrell just got in trouble though.
Mitchell Robinson, I think, would be a phenomenal addition for the Warriors. I mean, if you could get Mitchell Robinson, he's a shot blocker. I mean, I'll tell you the guy who I'd try to get is, if you can get him for cheap, is Mo Bamba.
Ooh.
Yeah, but where do you?
I love me some Mo Bamba.
Where do you? The salary slots, there's either league minimums.
There's Andre Drummond. He's a free agent.
You've got the mid-level exception,
Zubac,
which is going to go to Peyton, right? Wouldn't the mid-level? Cy was saying, I don't exactly know how all those contracts work. You have
one mid-level exception. You can split it up, or you
got the bird. You got the bird rights.
You could give them a bird rights deal.
And that's all.
Now we're getting into some deep, Fitz territory.
Yeah,
I might have to get Fitz back on the show if we're going to get this deep into the cap.
Because with the 5-6 guys, you got the core three, which astronomical
JaVale
numbers.
McGee would make a lot of sense. I think
he makes the most sense because he knows the system. He's
Isaiah Hartenstein's out there from the Clips. He's not bad.
That. Yeah.
Kyle Anderson. I like you mean some Kyle Anderson. Guy's long.
Yeah, Kyle Anderson's a good player.
Drummond could go with a league minimum.
Jeff Green.
There's a guy that
Bruce Brown.
What about Bagley? From Detroit.
I mean, he's the ultimate Wiggins thing, right? It's like, hey, I mean, if you're going to bet on something, bet on pedigree. And if anybody,
Hassan Whiteside is out there with Utah.
Oh, I'd take Whiteside in a second. I bet he'd sign a league minimum deal to rehab his image. He's already made a shit ton of money. He has a ton of money.
Mike Muscala, if you're looking for a guy who can hit that
corner three. Robin Lopez is out there.
I love me some Robin Lopez.
Robin Lopez could be your league. It's either going to be, I think, McGee
Serge
or
Ibaka.
Lopez.
You mentioned Serge Ibaka.
He's a free agent?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
I'd take Ibaka. I bet Ibaka. I mean, Ibaka can shoot.
Ibaka might be the best because he can shoot the 3 ball.
Yeah. And we
He
would
can shoot the 3 ball.
We don't need him to be, crazy and
What about
unbelievable.
DeMarcus Cousins? Would he come back on a minimum?
No, he
No,
wouldn't fit.
DeMarcus Cousins.
No?
DeMarcus Cousins. He's such a no.
Ibaka
He
killed
can't
us
stand
in-
DeMarcus Cousins.
What about Hassan
Okay,
Whiteside?
too. I like
Hassan
Whiteside.
Whiteside.
You know what's
with the-
another
with the
interesting
Jazz.
name is Jalen Smith from Indiana, who played at Maryland, and he can really shoot. And he can really shoot, and he's a rim protector. He can shoot the 3 ball, and he's only 22. And
Did you mention Biyombo already? Bismarck Biyombo? Did you mention him?
no, I didn't mention
Yeah,
Biyombo.
he would be another guy. See, I think if Looney goes, the number one priority after getting Peyton to sign is a center on the league minimum. And it's going to have to be an older guy, someone like McGee or
Someone's
Lopez.
championship ring hunting.
Well, Robin Lopez.
What do you think of Taj Gibson? I mean, he'd be cheap.
Thon maker.
He's old. He's an older player, but Taj Gibson can run the floor and he can block shots and he's smart. So
Yeah.
I mean, he can hit a mid-range shot. I like him. Robin Lopez.
How about Damian Jones of the Kings? Former
Damian
Warrior
Jones,
draft
but I
pick?
got to think the way he played for Sacramento, that Sacramento will want him back. Dwayne Dedman's another guy who, shot blocker.
Yeah, he was with the Warriors at one time in the camp. Yeah.
Horford, a guy like Horford makes me believe, though, like, even though he's 37, people thought he was done a year ago. And you put it like a guy like Ibaka in the right situation, like a championship situation. We've already seen him perform in those 2019 finals. I really like the idea of that. I think
Ibaka would be a great call because Ibaka could give you a perimeter. He can give you a perimeter threat. I mean, here's the one thing with Golden State.
Blocking.
One thing is Draymond. It's one thing that's perfectly clear going forward is that Draymond Green is going to be their big man who can't shoot.
Hey,
Yeah, so
dude,
you
he
can't
shot
have-
66% in Game 6 from 3. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so he's your guy who can't shoot. So you can't have two guys that don't shoot. The other guy's got to be a threat. Somebody said, "How about Bull?" Dusty Gold says, "How about Bull?" I like Bull.
I don't bowl.
But no, I like Bull.
He's just got injury concerns. Ibaka's only 32. Now, that might be one of those weird things where he gave the wrong birth certificate. But
yeah, I mean, if that's the nice thing about Mo Bamba too, is Mo Bamba can shoot the 3. So, but Ibaka, I'd be concerned about Ibaka's health because the season starts on Halloween and ends on the 4th of July almost. I mean, it's an eternal season. So, I mean, you need somebody who can run a marathon at this point. And Ibaka, I'd be wondering about, could he run that marathon? But if you're just looking for a big man who can block shots, knows how to move in the half-court game, and can shoot the 3 ball, at least be a threat so that you can play your pace and space and keep the floor spread and create more room for Curry and everybody else. I think Ibaka makes a ton of sense. And the question is, I think they tried to get Ibaka before and they just lost out. Can they, it's tough to sometimes attract guys to play in California because of the money. They see how much more money they're going to make if they play somewhere else. And they're like, you know what? I'll play somewhere else. But, I'll tell you the guy who's got to be sitting there going, what in the hell did I do? Kent Bazemore left the Warriors to go to the Lakers. He said at the time that the reason he did it was because he wanted more playing time and he wanted a chance at a ring.
Yeah.
How ironic is that? He got no playing time. After the first 15 games of the season, he was like basically persona non grata. He never played again. And he was on a Laker team that was the biggest disappointment in the league, and he got off of a team that won the title. Way to go, Kent. I mean, there's a guy who may want to fire his advisor.
Yeah,
if he had one.
are pretty good buddies, I understand too. I think Iguodala retires. I'm assuming that's a no doubter.
He said it on that live stream. He said he's going to retire, and I guess he's starting a venture capital fund or venture capital company.
It's funny. After Jaren Jackson pissed off Clay, Totes McGoat says a JJJ and Poole reunion is nice. Why not get Jaren Jackson? Jaren Jackson is exactly like if tomorrow Memphis called and they said, we'll give you Jaren Jackson for Wiseman, would you do it?
Have to.
I think we'd have to give up more than just Wiseman to get him, though. You'd probably have to give up
theoretically, Dan. Would you just Wiseman for JJ?
Well, let me just double check that salary.
After what you read about what Curry said, no.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, even
what Thompson said. It was Thompson who said, "Bruh."
No. What Curry said is his
Wiseman being an MVP.
No, in fact, you wouldn't have to give up more than that because Jaren Jackson Jr. right now makes 9.1 mil, and I think Wiseman makes 9 million as well. But Jaren Jackson just signed an extension, so he's due to make 28 million next year. So you might have to trade more if you did it. If you did it next year, you'd have to trade more than Wiseman.
Yeah,
Jaren Jackson Jr. also said that like he's like a huge Wiseman guy. He like did this whole thing, kind of like promoting him like ahead of the draft, saying like he's going to be the next like great big man.
I think Wiseman. He's so young and he was growing. I mean that knee.
Yeah, it's like Embiid a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, give it another rest. Let him come back full. Hopefully next year, and they don't overuse him. That's why the importance of you want to have Wiseman out there for 20 minutes a game. Maybe 25 max. Keep him on a minutes restriction. Don't play him on back-to-backs so that he stays. That's why you got to have somebody like a McGee or a Lopez or
Rebel 444. Danny says I'd trade for Wendell Carter Jr., the former Duke Blue Devil. They're trading for a big. I mean, Matthew Mears says Looney's only 26. Keep Looney. Matthew, it's not about
it's money.
Nobody thinks Looney's washed up. Nobody thinks Looney's not valuable. It's just a matter of you just drafted James Wiseman, and Looney's going to get very attractive offers. Mike Brown just went to Sacramento. Sacramento's going to throw a ton of money towards him. Charlotte is as well. So
the one thing about
that's a question. I love Looney, but I mean,
with the Warriors,
it's time for him to get paid.
Yeah, with the Warriors having Curry, Green, and Thompson and Wiggins under pretty much
and
max,
Poole staring at a max deal,
and all those guys. You're only left with. It's not like they can sign everybody. There is a hard cap, and they can only have room for certain slots. And so those are either mid-level exception or bird rights with someone like Peyton, or the league minimum, which is what, like 2 million, 2.9, 1 point. What is the league minimum?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what the league minimum is.
But they can't go over a certain amount. And I don't know, with Curry going up, what's Curry's contract again next year? 51?
Oh, it's 46, I think. A guy called Ed said I would sell Poole high and trade him. They may have to. Here's the thing about that. Now that Wiggins has kind of forced their hand as, he's playing at such an incredible level that he's here.
He's their Scottie Pippen at this point.
Well, here's one.
I don't know that here's one. That Poole, I don't know that you can pay Poole what Poole wants to make. Maybe trading Poole is a smart move.
What do you think about this? Would you trade Poole to Mike Brown, Sacramento, and draft Ivy?
In a heartbeat. In a freaking heartbeat, I would do that. Jaden Ivey's electric. Jaden Ivey. The Kings are morons if the Kings trade the 4th pick in the draft.
But he doesn't want to go there.
Jaden Ivey. I know, but nobody wants to go anywhere. Steph didn't want to come here.
Right.
I mean, if I'm the Kings, I'd turn in that card so fast. Jaden Ivey is a star. He is electric. Think about how fast like a young Russell Westbrook was exploding to the hole. That's this kid, except he's got less baggage and he's got more upside. I mean, this kid's electric. He's incredible.
The problem for the Kings is that, and I totally agree. I mean, he might be the best player in the draft when it's all said and done, but the reason why they didn't take Doncic is because they were like, well, we already have Halliburton, Fox.
Yeah, don't play that game.
Don't play that game. You got rid of Halliburton, And now it's like, okay, I mean,
NBA draft is best player available.
Yeah, best player available.
Best player available.
Would the Kings take
and the Kings supposedly? I've heard. You hear what I heard today was that the Kings may trade the 4th pick for the 10th pick and Kyle Kuzma. If they do that, Monty McNair will just turn in his resignation.
Mike Brown's
embarrassing.
coming back.
Would the Kings trade the 4th pick to the Warriors for Poole, their number 1 pick, the 28th, and maybe a second? They would
trade him.
The Kings
Poole.
do that?
They would trade. All you'd need is Poole. And
you think so? I think you need more.
I think you could probably get. I think you could probably get the 4th pick for Poole.
People think that he's more valuable.
I would very much consider it because of the money.
I would too, Danny. I think you're on it. I think you're absolutely on it. I think that's a smart trade.
I think you got to keep Poole from the continuity and all of that because I would bring in an Ivy. It's
in a year though when he's up for a max, you're going to have to trade somebody. You're going to have to get rid of Green.
That's not how this ownership works. Like they're
under cap. They can't.
I know, but they're going to figure out a way to pay both Poole and Wiggins.
I saw a thing yesterday that said that Cleveland is really going to line up for a big trade for Wiggins this offseason. And they were the rumored deal I saw was Jared Allen and Markkanen for Wiggins.
Ew.
Now, and I put that through the trade machine to see if it would work, and it would work. You could get Markkanen and Jared Allen for Wiggins, but I just think Wiggins at this point is a keeper.
He was an all-star. He was basically Scottie Pippen.
So was Jared Allen.
But it's a different
Jared
position.
Allen
Jared Allen, different type of player.
He decided in Brooklyn to bring in DeAndre Jordan instead of Jared Allen. So like Jared Allen is a good player, but also, I mean, he's not Wiggins. Wiggins is
Jared Allen's 24. He averaged 16 and 10. He went to the All-Star game. He's 6'11", 250.
I know, but like Wiggins shut down
25.
Yeah, here's why Wiggins is so valuable.
Yeah, he shut down Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum.
Yes, he shut him down. Did you hear Clay say? He goes, "I'm so glad Wiggs took the toughest position in guarding the toughest player."
He was the second best player on this team during the finals run, and
I can't trade Wiggins right now.
No, I just can't trade Wiggins.
I just can't. I just can't move Wiggins right now. I can't.
If we lose next year,
but what Danny said about Poole and Ivy makes sense. Now I don't even know that Ivy's going to fall to 4. Jabari Smith's probably going to go 1, and then
Paolo's going to go 1.
Who is?
I think Paolo.
Banchero, Banchero. The top 3 are going to be in whatever order: Jabari Smith, Banchero, and probably Chet Holmgren. That would be my guess.
The Christian,
is there a chance that Ivy goes in front of Holmgren and Holmgren falls in the King's lap?
It's possible, but I think that because the Rockets traded Christian Wood, that means that they think that they're getting what's his face from Auburn. I don't know. Why am I blanking?
Jabari Smith.
Jabari Smith.
Yeah, I think that's
a terrific defensive
what's
player.
What's Houston have? The 4th?
Orlando's got the 1st pick.
Yeah,
I think Houston's got the 2nd pick or 3rd pick.
I thought Houston had the 5th pick.
No.
I thought they fell in that lottery to 5.
I'll give it to you let me see here.
I don't think Houston has the 2nd pick.
It's Thunder has the 2nd, Rockets have the 3rd.
Didn't Houston fall to 5?
3.
You sure?
Pistons are 5.
Oh, Pistons.
So I've got the NBA draft.net. It's Orlando's going 1. They're probably going to take Jabari Smith or Banchero. OKC's going 2. They're going to take whoever Orlando doesn't take.
I think OKC's taking Holmgren.
Houston's got the 3rd pick. You think they're going to go Holmgren? I think Holmgren's so weak that
I think he's a development.
I mean, the thing about Holmgren's really skilled, but I'm worrying for catastrophic injury there. He's got he weighs 195 pounds.
Oh, he's got to build up to 225.
I mean, this guy. There's another guy in this draft who plays at Florida State named John Butler, who's 7'1", 175, and he's an awesome talent. Actually, this NBA draft.net projects Butler to go 28 to the Warriors. He's 7'1", 175, but you got to see this kid. He can put it on the deck. He's got fluidity. He might be 2 years away from being 2 years away, which is like Fran Fraschilla's favorite line. But you know what? John Butler's really intriguing. But when you're that skinny, man, I mean, like for the Warriors to take John Butler at 28, okay, they can do that. Why? Because he's super skilled and they're picking 28th. But when you're picking in the top 5, can you really go Chet Holmgren? I mean,
he's going to go in the top
195 pounds.
They're just looking at the NBA looks at that potential. Hey, you guys want a hockey update? I'm watching in the background the NHL.
Not necessarily.
Unbelievable. Colorado. Let me tell you what the score is. It's the Broncos 7, the Buccaneers 0 in the third quarter. That's how bad this game is.
What?
It is.
What?
It's the Broncos,
Buccaneers?
the Denver Broncos 7.
Oh, I got you.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 0. It is 10 minutes to go in the game.
How many goals for McKinnon?
I don't know. I can't. The sound's off, so I don't see it. But they just
look that up. Nathan McKinnon is awesome. Matthew Mears. What does hockey mean? That's awesome.
Can you believe that? 7-0. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really is. By the way, Clarence Peak says, mute his ass, Larry. Mute his ass. Look at Clarence. He's all over you.
Put some money up there. You'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody wants Dan muted, you have to make a donation first.
He needs some ones in his undies.
Matthew Mears, don't forget Looney's homegrown. I really won't be surprised if he stays somehow. Well, I know, but you know what? It's time for him to get paid. It's time for him to get paid. Yeah. Clarence Beek says there's got to be some ring chasers out there. Rye referenced this earlier. We need buy-in from free agents. Most of all, Siakam and Portis are a little wild. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go.
Makes the best sense for your backup center to Wiseman. That would be, to me, really, really good. Gives you a whole.
I mean, give you an idea. Like when the Warriors are on the board, as far as centers go, Jalen Williams, who's 6'10", 235, who plays kind of a power forward position for Arkansas, but he's probably, he's a sophomore. He could probably play a little center. He's a big man that could be there for them. I think that's a really interesting one for sure. Christian Coloco, who Rye referenced before, 7 feet, about 220 pounds, played for Arizona this year. He's probably going to be on the board when they pick at the end of round 1. Orlando Robinson, the big man from Fresno, he'll be on the board at the end of round 1. There's some really interesting guys for sure. There's a foreign-born player, and I don't see him on the list here, but he's ridiculous. His name is Ibu, I believe, and he's got a ridiculous length. And he could be there at the end of round 1. Golden State's got 3 picks in the upcoming draft. They picked 28 in round 1, and then they have the 51st pick and the 55th pick. So they pick 55, 51, and 28. And by the way, my draft sleeper that I told Larry Harris about, Gabe Brown from Michigan State, he's not listed in the first or second round. Now that is an NBA draft sleeper. You guys got to give me that one. If Gabe Brown turns into a useful rotation player in the NBA, and I called that after he's not on the NBA draft.net first or second round mock.
Wow.
I'm going to need a little credit at that point. I mean, seriously, if you're projecting guys that are good that wind up are not even at all undrafted, and there are some good players who don't get drafted, believe it or not.
Yeah. Did you guys mention Jalen Smith as a free agent for the Pacers center?
I think you did.
I don't think I did, but he's a possibility. He's Pacers can only sign him.
I did. I mentioned him.
Okay.
Yeah, I did mention him. He played at Maryland. He shoots the 3 ball. He's 22. He can block shots. He's a rim protector, 3-point threat who, I saw him at Maryland, and he wears goggles. He can shoot that 3 ball, and he can run the floor. I mean, that's one of those buy low, that would be one of those they got who, and then people like halfway through the year, Bob Myers is a genius, that kind of thing. But But that the beauty of the NBA offseason, it's like if you're a have like the Golden State Warriors are, everything falls in your favor. And if you're a have not like the Sacramento Kings, everything goes against you. And what I mean by that is like the Kings have the 4th pick in the draft, but like Jaden Ivey doesn't even want to work out for them. So like you're faced with drafting guys who don't even want to play for you. And then in the current draft, because everybody's so young and everybody's so projectable, there's so much more upside. So like the late first round pick in the 80s meant nothing compared to what it means now. Now a guy picked in the 2nd round could wind up being a star. A guy who's picked, in the end of the 1st round could wind up being one of the better players. It happens every year. Why? Because the players are younger. There's more development coming. So the draft now favors the better teams because good players fall into the 20s because everybody's so raw. And then the best GMs have their pick of talented players in round 2 and at the end of round 1. And then in free agency, as Danny stated or Rise stated, the Warriors are a choice destination. The Kings can't get anybody to go there. They're going to have to overpay in free agency to get anybody, while the Warriors are going to get Otto Porter and Bielitsa, those kinds of guys, to sign for the minimum.
Right.
So it totally I mean, the Lakers made that horrendous trade for Westbrook. They had like 3 guys in their roster, but they wound up signing an entire roster of guys who just wanted to play in LA with LeBron. Yeah. Now it didn't do anything for them because they needed, you can't add 9 new players.
You got to sign guys that fit together. And when they did that last year, when they brought in those guys, I was like, Westbrook with LeBron and Anthony Davis, there's not enough balls out there to go around. I just thought that was a horrendous fit, and I said it'll blow up on them, and it did. I think the Warriors, here's where I think the Warriors go. If Looney leaves, which I would say it's better than a 50% chance he does because of the money, then you've got to go with a veteran. A guy like with the Pacers, we just mentioned what was it?
Jalen Smith.
22. I don't know I think the Warriors go with somebody that replaces a Looney, like an Andre Drummond might sign for the minimum, because
I would think McGee is a natural fit since they know McGee.
Yeah, I say McGee would be the top choice that they could probably get, and if they can't get him, I would go after someone like a Drummond, who is a bigger version, more of a rim protector than Looney, a big guy that gets a lot of rebounds and sets good picks, and he's a little bit more of a lob threat, but he's getting toward the end of his career. He's never won a title or even sniffed one. So maybe a guy like him says, hey, you know what? I'll take a 1-year league minimum and resurrect my career, like McGee did years ago with the Warriors.
Nick Caracillo or Caracillo, and a Nick, if I'm butchering that because it looks like an Italian name, I'm not sure if I got that right or wrong. But says, Larry, have you ever gone out on a limb before, ever in your career, in terms of finding sleepers? What has been your best sleeper ever called? Who was your worst sleeper ever called? Well, I'll say this: I was in the Warrior facility and pumped my fist when they drafted Monte Ellis, because I knew Monte Ellis was a ridiculous scorer.
Second rounder. Yeah.
I also, nobody was there except for my kid to see it. But when the Warriors drafted Draymond Green, I knew Draymond Green was way better than a 2nd round pick. And I high-fived my kid in the back seat. I'm like, oh, they got Draymond freaking Green. And the only reason I knew Draymond was because I watched Michigan State. Now, he had taken them to the Final Four, and people would be like, oh, well, that's nothing. They always have great players. Not that year they didn't. The year they had Draymond, go look at Draymond's teammates on the team that he led to the Final Four. That was not the Flintstones with Mateen Cleaves and Mo Pete and those guys. That was not that group. That was a totally different group of players, far lesser talents. So I'll tell you I was a huge Green fan. I also love Gilbert Arenas. When I saw Gilbert Arenas for Arizona, and when he was taken around too, I thought, man, that's a steal. So Cliff Robinson is another guy going back to Uncle Cliffy. I saw him at Connecticut, knew he was going to be great. Shocked that he went in round 2. So there are guys every year in round 2 as far as sleepers, and then sleepers that I called that I missed on. I thought the kid that the Warriors took, Taft, out of Pitt, was a big man. They took Chris Taft, and I think he had back problems. The other guy that I really thought the Warriors stole somebody on was Yuri Welsh, when they drafted Yuri Welsh in round 2. And Yuri Welsh had crazy handle and he had talent, but he just, I don't know what happened, just didn't happen for him. So
you have any summer of 22 fruit sleepers?
Do not bring back the fruits as a topic. A guy called in.
Hey guys, I have another really cool story just because I've been consuming so much media. I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast.
Yeah.
This is really
guy who picked against the Warriors.
Another guy who picked against the Warriors. This is really cool. So he said he brought this story back in light of, Klay Thompson and everything. He said, remember the year when they got him at 11, Kawhi Leonard went 14. So
do you remember who went 10?
No.
Jimmer Fredette.
To
the Kings. The Kings took Jimmer Fredette over Klay.
So Chip England, the assistant coach for the Spurs, that's more than an assistant coach, and he's considered like a shooting guru. They brought Klay Thompson in for a workout, and they said that according to Zach Lowe, apparently Chip England walked up to the rest of their brass right after the workout, and he said, "This guy reminds me of Manu Ginobili," and he said that everybody, like the hair on on their arms and everything, like went up, and it was like that kind of a moment, like, oh my god. So I guess they were
Jerry West was the Warrior
who was
guy.
High on him?
Chip England.
The
Spurs.
The Spurs. Okay.
Jerry West was the guy supposedly that was super high on him for the Warriors.
Right.
I remember watching film of Klay Thompson at Wazoo, and you could see the shooting, but it wasn't quite. It didn't jump out to you as far as the percentages like when you watch him now. You knew he was a great shooter, but to me, where I was like, wow, is he made in college a like 40-foot one-handed bounce pass on the break. Like it looked like, I felt like I was watching old footage of Pete Maravich or something. It was like a one-handed 40-foot bounce pass, perfect on the break to a teammate. And I thought, wow, this guy's 6'7", and he's got that kind of that. To me, if you're going to watch a basketball player, what tells you that the guy's on a different level? It's not shooting or dribbling, it's passing. When a guy can really see the floor and really pass, he's got high basketball IQ and high upside. And man, Klay Thompson.
Talk about the Klay Thompson and things that could have happened that would have changed history. Jerry West stopped the Warriors from trading Klay Thompson for Kevin Love to the Minnesota Timberwolves one year.
Yeah.
The best trades you make are the ones that sometimes you don't make.
Yeah. And then according to Chris Paul, he said that back when he was with New Orleans.
Supposedly Jerry West was like going to basically leave the organization over it if they had made that trade.
Yeah. And then Chris Paul said when he was with the New Orleans Hornets before they moved to Charlotte that the Warriors were going to trade Curry and Thompson for Chris Paul. I don't know if that was ever verified.
Well, how about the night? How about I believe the night of the draft, the rumor was that the Phoenix offered Amari Stoudemire straight up for Steph.
Yeah.
And at that point, Amari Stoudemire was not that far removed from being a very good power forward / center. Could you imagine how bad that would have been if they had traded Steph Curry in the future to the Suns for Amari Stoudemire?
So many things could have happened. I mean, the Timberwolves took Ricky Rubio and another guard.
Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, Johnny Flynn ahead of Steph Curry. I mean,
David Kahn. David Kahn was the GM. I mean, how about that? You're taking 2 point guards. And how about Sacramento? Didn't Sacramento take Tyreek Evans over Steph?
He won. And he won Rookie of the Year, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, all that looked good when Steph was having surgery on his ankles and missing and wasn't sure if he's going to. But my goodness, look at what has happened. I mean, 4 titles, and the guy's a top 10 player of all time. And He's like, number one in. I've had him when I did my top athletes of the Bay Area, not just a combination of beloved athletes and performance. I put Steph up there at number one, and I've got.
Where'd you have Cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe, I had 7. Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Did they go
Cantaloupe,
undrafted?
Hey guys, that's gonna do it for us. It's
got some good moves.
7:45 on a Friday night. We've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we
Did I say Friday night? I meant Saturday night.
Our nights are off from Thursday night. Ryan and I pulled all-nighters Thursday night. We were up till 6 in the morning.
I sent in the group text I'm telling you, it was like 4:30 a.m. with a picture. Because really what I was trying to show is Draymond Green was going live on the biggest night. And it was like 4 a.m. and they had about as many people in the room as we did. And that's what I was going to say. And then I was like, wait, I can't keep texting these poor guys. It's like 4:30 in the morning. And then Dan responded.
Matthew Mears says dinner time. That's right. Yeah. My wife and the kids have already had dinner. Danny, are you a father?
I am, of course.
Well, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day tomorrow, my friend. And Rye, you're not a father, but I know someday you will be a great father.
I'm a dog father.
I'll just say that. You're a godfather?
Dog.
Oh, you're a dog father. Where's Ringo? Ringo? Where's Ringo?
We need to bring the dogs. Who let the dogs out?
I got him in those like.
Who let the dogs out? The Baja Men. Remember when the Baja Men played at Oracle? All right, Oracle Park.
Oh,
here we go. End of the show for Faith. End of the show for Buster.
Sit, Buster.
Sit, Buster.
Sit. Hey, Buster, sit.
Buster's like, I ain't listening to you.
Lay down.
He's like, call me my real name. My name is Sosha. Do not call me Buster.
Hey, look at that guy.
Look at that.
Hey, way to go, Buster.
Bandana. He's got his bandana going.
What do you think of Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
You know what? It was another Jurassic movie. All I got to say is that guy Goldblum. Man, I mean, that guy's just, without the Jurassic movies, that guy's just been totally, he was basically, that guy's just retired. All he's done is Jurassic movies in the last 20 years.
He popped up in one Marvel movie.
I liked it though. I liked it. And you know what? I like those movies more in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to see those movies in the theater. Toads McGoats, Jurassic Park sucks ass. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Matthew Mears with a very kind, have a good Father's Day, everyone. Great, phenomenal week. Buster's down here kind of crushed. Faith is right there. Ringo did Ringo make it to the camera? No. Do we ever see Ringo?
He's sleeping.
Ringo's sleeping and doesn't quite mug for the cameras like
Ryan has no control over his team.
Ryan, Danny's dogs remember the swift kick that he gave him a few weeks ago, and they're like, "Oh my god, we can't have that happen again."
I'm a player's coach, and my team listens to me when I call them, and what? Yeah, I can
my
make
team.
These guys. I can make Buster roll over and, well, maybe not roll over, but I can make it.
Dusty says Ringo's playing his drums. Yes, thank you.
I should
Beatles reference there.
I should make Buster for 1 minute wait to eat something. I should tell him to leave it and have him stay there and stare at it on the closeout.
You're a mean man.
Yeah,
you're absolutely a mean man. But everybody who's been with us through the last week, we've had a ridiculous amount of support over the last 3 months, but the last week especially incredible. We've had a ton of fun, and we got more great stuff planned for this week. So we'll do a little NBA draft show Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. We got a lot of Giants baseball coming up this week, so we'll be on after Giants games, gearing up for Niner postseason. Buster's over. Look at that. He's looking over his left shoulder.
I saw that comment, Nick. Come here, Buster. Come here.
Which comment?
Stop. Sit.
When I put up.
Hey, Buster.
I haven't seen him get Buster to sit once.
Come here. Come on, Buster. Sit. Make me look good. Come on. Get up.
Don't do it, Buster. Don't do it.
Sit. No, lay down. No. Now lay down. Lay down. There you go. Look at that. Huh, Nick?
Look at that, Nick.
Yeah.
That's right. That's in your face, Nick.
Yeah, in your face. Got him to lay down and
all right.
sit.
Let's
Let me have my final thought on the Giants.
Okay, final thought.
Okay.
Giants go for a sweep tomorrow. They've struggled in Pittsburgh the last several years. This year, and the Dodgers had beaten Pittsburgh like 12 straight, and they got
who pitches
swept.
tomorrow? What's the matchup? Do you know?
Alex Cobb is back off.
Oh, that's right. Cobb comes back tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who he's facing. I probably wouldn't even know who it is anyway if I read his name. I mean,
IP Freely, I believe his name is.
So the Giants go for a sweep, and then they go into Atlanta. So if they can sweep the Pirates and come out of Atlanta with a split of a 4-game series, or even take 3 out of 4, we're going to be on a big roll.
Rye, you got a final thought?
Oh, we're sweeping tomorrow, baby.
Sweep. Let's monster slam our way right out of here.
Monster
He's going to drive to the hoop again. He kicks it out to Wiggins. Wiggins drives, goes in for a monster slam. Oh, no, they're calling an offensive foul. No.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Careful, whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah. We ain't never fall back. Hold up.